afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and young ones. We appreciate you being here today in spite of the rain. It's like the mailman said, we will go on. So thank you for coming out and being with us this evening. We are ready to start our meeting. And I know we have, well, we're going to call this meeting to order, which is what I'm doing again, and saying welcome and thank you for being here. And at this time, 2.2 is a Pledge of Allegiance. And we're going to ask, I always call him Terry. I always call him Terrible Terry. So you'll hear more about this young man in a minute. So Terry, will you come to the microphone and lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance? Let's stand, please.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, go. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thanks, Terry. And now the adoption of the agenda. Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Let's vote. Mr. Tillman? And Mr. Gallo is almost here. Is that a yes? Ready to press. You ready to press? Okay, you're all pressed. Thank you, everyone. Now, is Rachel doing this next? No, it's Ginger. Okay. All right, session 3.1, Making Hope Happen Foundation check presentation. So, Ms. Bardier, I believe this is you, and Ms. Ginger Antiveros. And you want us to come down? Okay. Board and cabinet, please join. Yes, and cabinet. Board, including student board member and cabinet. Thank you. And we will stay down for a second presentation. Thank you.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are so glad you've joined us today as we celebrate some of our proud accomplishments for our students and our district. Today, we are here to honor the generosity of our own Making Hope Happen Foundation, which is presenting a generous donation to Bing Wong Elementary School to support its iCare lab. We will also be recognizing two of our student athletes who recently earned some much-deserved national attention in the boxing arena. At this time, I will introduce Dr. Sam Gibbs, the president of the district's Making Hope Happen Foundation, and Mr. Kevin Posey.
Thank you, Linda. By this time, I hope everyone knows who and what the Making Hope Foundation is. It is the foundation that supports the San Bernardino City Unified School District. Just to give you a glimpse of what we've done thus far, we just this semester gave out 70 scholarships at $3,000 each. But here's the caveat, 19% of which was awarded to either homeless or foster students in the district. Now, although that sounds like a great number, again, it's only about a small percentage of the way to fulfilling our dream, which is that every child that comes through the San Bernardino City Unified School District can have a hope of going to college. But that's not what we're here for tonight. Tonight, we're here to talk about an incredible project being headed by Bing Wong Elementary School and Principal Ryan. So I'd like to have Ryan and his staff come down. And we at Making Hope Happen Foundation realize that this is just a small token to get Ryan started, because we are just as vested in this project as he is. So at this time, I'd like Kevin, who's our financial officer for the board, to come with me as we present a check for $50,000 to Bing Wong Elementary. Now, Ryan, you can't cash this one.
That's fine now. Okay, if I can get everyone to look this way. Two more. This check is big enough that I'm sure you can hold those smiles for a few more photos. Perfect, thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for coming down. I'd like the board and cabinet to please remain. Yep. Now we are honoring two champions who've worked very hard this summer to put our great city of San Bernardino on the map. When I call your name, please come forward along with your family and coaches. First, I would like to invite Del Vallejo Middle School incoming 8th grade student, Terry Washington, and he will be joined by his proud family. Would you please come forward? And will Jackie Maynard please also come down front? Oh, that one's from Rialto. I didn't know we were honoring Rialto, but if that's from Rialto. Okay. There he is. Okay, Terry, who is 13 years old, recently returned from the National Junior Olympic Boxing Championship competition in Charleston, West Virginia, where he fought 2 bouts in the 75-pound division, winning the first and just losing the second. But ladies and gentlemen, let me clarify. Terry battled with a fractured foot. So please give him a big San Bernardino City Unified round of applause. And congratulations, Terry. We can't wait to see what your boxing future holds for you down the road. So let's give Terry another big round of applause. Terry. Now I would like to invite Charles Harris II to come forward with his proud family and coaches. Let's give him a round of applause. Charles is ready to start his freshman year at Pacific High School later this month. So will Principal Dr. Natalie Raimundo please come forward? "13-year-old Charles returned from West Virginia as the National Junior Olympic Boxing Champion in the 110-pound division. Now, his victory is especially sweet because Charles beat young boxers from major cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago. Way to go, Charles. We are so proud that Charles and Terry have demonstrated how San Bernardino is strong to the rest of our country. We also want to acknowledge from our neighboring district, from Rialto City Unified School District, Kenny Labatz from Rialto. Please come forward. We'll give you a big round of applause. He has done an outstanding job and is part of a dynamic team that is fighting to keep San Bernardino strong. So we are so proud of you also, Kenny. Let's give Kenny another round of applause. I also want to thank their coach, Mr. Ian Franklin, who is the CEO and president of Project Fighting Chance. Mr. Franklin, please come forward. And we'll take one last great photo. Can we get Charles and Terry to also come up so we can get one? You can bring your certificates, that's fine. Come on up. Let's get you with your team. Aw. Oh. All right, let's give these champions another big round of applause. Congratulations. And this concludes our awards tonight.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give them all a round of applause. And we have our one young man from Rialto, and to our young student from Rialto, I will be on the telephone tomorrow calling your superintendent, telling them they have someone they need to recognize. So I'm sure they'll contact you. Okay, so with that, congratulations. And I'm just so proud of all three of you because you also have very good grades, don't you? Good, and I know because I saw a copy of the letter from the hotel in West Virginia talking about your behavior and how good you were and how proud they were to have you there. So, and they were telling the truth, weren't they? Okay, good. So thank you. Thank you so much, and just so glad that we've had a chance to meet you and want you to have a great school year because whereas boxing is great and education is greater. And so it's nothing wrong with doing both. So again, congratulations, and to parents and members of Project Fighting Chance, just thank you for all the work you're doing. So thank you so much. And we're going to move right along because I understand when I was absent 2 weeks ago that folks were bragging, Dr. Flores, in case you hadn't heard.
Yes, that's okay.
They got out at 8:05, and I think they said because you and I were not here.
Well,
Because I'm long-winded. Well,
it's okay. It's good.
at any rate, we will move right along. And now,
For a good reason.
okay, session 4, 4.0, student achievement, and 4.1, key performance indicator, suspension and expulsion data for 2016, 2017, and we are only 2 minutes off schedule, board members.
Thank you, Dr. Hill.
Hi, Dr. Hill.
And yes, board, and so this is an opportunity, as you know, we like to present to you your key performance indicators for success. You know we've come a long way with our suspensions and expulsions. We've got yet a long way still to go, but tonight you'll get to hear some testimonies from our own students who are doing powerful work that is changing the way we do work around suspensions and expulsions for our students. So we're very excited. I know the students are here in the audience. We're getting ready to hear from them and staff. So Dr. Moneris, the podium is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Marsden. Good evening, board. I'm going to try to get through this because it's feeling a little warm in here, and I don't think it's because we're talking about suspension and expulsion data. Before I get started, though, I want to be sure to recognize the team that is really doing the work behind this, and they're in the audience behind me. So if you're with youth services, alternative programs, if you would please stand so we can recognize you for your hard work. We can see that it is a dynamic group of individuals, and we really did go back and forth about, all right, who's going to stand up here and share the information, and we decided it would probably be best to come from one single voice, aside from our students who will be speaking towards the end. But please know that the results that you're going to be looking at tonight, and you're going to see some really good data, is a direct result of the hard work of these individuals behind us, so I really want to recognize them. All right, so here we go. So if you could follow along, not with the presentation that was provided in your board agenda, because there was just slight tweaks, basically a little bit of sequencing changes, use the one that's on the dais. And tonight, we're going to go over 3 key outcomes. We're going to look at our suspension and expulsion data from the last school year, 2016 and 17. Really share the supports that have taken place throughout the last 5 years and highlight the work that this team has been doing, most specifically in the last 3, and how we're going to scale that up for this coming school year. And that's the third point, is the next steps. So those are our 3 big outcomes. Also, board, you had, I believe you received in your board packet thumb drives with lots of data. We also included some the data from the previous presentation on chronic attendance. So there's a lot of data there for you. All right, so we are very proud of the work that has been taking place in San Bernardino City when it comes to suspensions. And this chart in particular is very powerful because if you take a look and you zone in on the green line is the work that was done last year. And you can see that the difference between when we started this work in 2012-13 under the leadership of Dr. Mitchell, and where we are right now, that green line is really starting to flatten out, and that's what we want to see. We want to see our trends continuing to decrease overall as a district in suspension, and we want to see those peaks starting to flatten out as well. And we really believe that as we continue the work that has been going on, we will have a flat line within the next few years. So we're very proud of the work that has taken place. Overall, we highlight that there is, in the last 5 years, a 9.1% drop in our 9th grade students. We attribute this to trained focus for our teachers and our staff, as well as ongoing work around best practices. So we really know that what we're doing is making a difference. The next slides I'm going to go through are really about how we're doing overall in the various areas. So the first slide is the actual number of suspensions, and you can see, board, that the incidence of suspensions have almost cut in half in the last 5 years. We have a negative 47% or a decrease of 47% of incidents. You can also note, and I really want to emphasize, that starting in 2014-15, that is when we received the grant for disproportionality, and we had groups of schools go through targeted support with the alternative program staff and youth services. And we're going to talk further about what that targeted support is, because you'll see as we go through the slides that the schools who got that additional support made even greater decreases, actually, in suspensions and expulsions compared to district-wide, and that's what we want to take to scale. So we started PBIS and restorative justice district-wide in 14-15, and we also included additional supports and targeted assistance and monitoring with the grant and specific schools. And so again, I'm going to go through that as we get further along. But you can see that we have cut the number of suspensions in half, and that is remarkable because of the work of the staff. Our next slide talks about the actual number of students suspended, and you can also see that we have a negative 38%, so we've dropped 38% of the actual number of students suspended. If you compare the 2 slides, the first slide is total incidents throughout the district. This slide is talking about the number of students suspended. So an individual student could have been suspended more than once. That would be reflected in the previous slide, just so that the board understands the difference. I can share some data, that specific data right here. In 2012-13, students averaged about 2.1 days of suspension, And as of 2016-17, that average was 1.8. So we're suspending even the same students less than they had been suspended before. So the total number of days of suspension, because previous board presentation had been about attendance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gallo has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, just a quick one. These are out-of-school suspensions?
Out-of-school suspensions, yes. Thank you for the clarification. Yes. So, which is a very nice transition to this slide. So this is about the total number of days suspended, and we can see that attendance is, we are not impacting attendance as much as we had in the past because the number of days has dropped, been cut in half also over the last 5 years. And so we are not suspending as much, and therefore students are in school where they need to be. And we can really attribute this to, again, the work that has been going on at our schools, providing welcoming, safe, and nurturing learning environments, and correcting behaviors earlier rather than letting them escalate and then leading to potential referrals and suspensions. Our next slide, this is our comparison data, how we are comparing to and how we are trending compared to county and state, and it's been becoming more difficult to compare that because, and this is a hypothesis, but when you go to the CDE website, you cannot pull up county and state right now. And you haven't been able to for 2 years, and we think it's because of the transition to the dashboard. And even when you try to find it in the dashboard, it's not available yet. So what we can say is at a district, we have been trending down. And we can say that we could hypothesize that maybe we're trending down faster than our county and our state, but we don't know that yet. Hopefully next year we will have that data, so we will be able to really share how are we doing compared to county and state. This is the first time I think that we're sharing with the board how we're comparing to other districts. But again, this data is old because just as the county and the state data is not available on CDE, the most recent, nor are the districts. But we thought it would be interesting and good for us to take a look at how do we compare to our similar districts. This is as of 14-15. And because the ones that are similar to us and in 14-15 were suspending less than us, we want to go and find out what they're doing. And we want to compare. Maybe we're doing exactly the same that they've been doing. We just can't see it right now because we're 2 years behind in the data. But we do want to take a look so we can see that Riverside would be probably a good district for us to go visit. Moreno Valley is very similar to us 2 years ago. It'll be interesting to see where they are right now in some of our other districts. We start to then look at how we're doing by our different student groups. And as you look at this board, I want to be sure that we're reading it accurately. So if we look at our African American youth, the N served is the actual number of students enrolled in our district in this suspension rate number. And so if we look at our African American youth, it's 12.9% of those total students enrolled during that school year. When you look at the 5-year trend, we can see that we've decreased the number of African American youth suspended 4.3%. We're not 100% satisfied with that, but I want the board to wait until I get to another slide to show you that we've got schools that as we disaggregate the data have made much greater strides than what you see in the aggregated data. You kind of can't see it yet, but there is a slide coming up. We can see our Latino youth, about 40,000 students, and 4.6 are suspended. Were suspended this school year. Again, the trend is over 5 years, 2.6. As a district, we have a trended 5-year decrease of suspensions, 3.2%. When we look at by program, similar trends. What we can see in the previous slide was that our African American youth, the trend is decreasing a little bit faster than the rest, and that's good because we need it to. We can also see that our English learners, we've decreased 2.8 in comparison to district. That's a little bit less. We also have a little bit less students that are being suspended. And so the data really speaks for itself in terms of areas to focus on and the work that's continuing to happen. Our final disaggregated data by student groups is by program. And we can see in our special ed settings, and these are all of our special ed students, we have decreased the number of special ed students 5.4% over 5 years. Our homeless rate has decreased 8.8%. I do want to just let the board know that on homeless, it looks like our numbers really went up this school year. in terms of the number of students that are homeless, and that's really because of the work of our foster youth and homeless program. They've just done a really good job working with schools to identify them. And so that's why the numbers have gone up in terms of the number of students served. That doesn't explain why the percent has gone up on suspension and expulsion, but just to clarify some of that data. And then our socioeconomic disadvantage. So you can see that that is the same as the district average. Now this is where we really get into...
Rachel, you were saying for the homeless numbers that they went up?
The actual number of students who are identified homeless?
Is that not what the end served number thing is?
Exactly.
But it actually shows it went down by a couple hundred.
Well, I apologize. You're right. I meant what is that?
Oh, you're saying like 2014, 15,
Right.
and
We've averaged
subsequent years?
Yes, we've averaged about 5,000 homeless students this school year or this past school year that I've been here. So that's been about right, but just to explain the 1,000 difference between 14, 15, and 15, 16. You're welcome. This slide is where we really feel like you start to really notice the change in school culture, because this is about our K violations. And when we think about K violations, the violations tend to start with just a student who may have some minor offense in class. Maybe they're not paying attention. Maybe they've been used the wrong word choice in the classroom, been a little bit disrespectful. Or perhaps they might be off task. Sounds kind of like a child. And the difference is with the work that has been going on with PBIS and restorative practices, our teaching staff and all the adults that are engaging with our students are redirecting students and getting them back to focus so that those minor offenses go away, rather than them becoming escalated, which then may become a major offense, an office referral, and possibly a suspension. And so when we look at the number of K violations that have dropped over the last 5 years, it's very remarkable, and it's exactly what we want to see, because this is where the change is happening in the classroom. Now,
you have a question behind you?
Wait, this is not the right presentation.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Would you like me to go back?
Isabel? Ms. Chobe?
Oh.
If you don't mind, I just don't know what a K violation is. Is it just a behavioral issue? Is it a certain kind of suspension?
Thank you, Isabel. So a K violation is considered a disruption.
Thank you.
And Isabel, just so you know, there was changes in the law starting in 2012, and then it changed even further in 2015. So you're a little bit younger at that time.
But
I
it's
have a question. Just a little bit.
Yeah, two lights, I see. Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
Dr. Flores, and then Ms. Medina.
Great, thank you. Just a quick one, Rachel. The K violations, is there a way to identify whether this is just ones we're tolerating and allowing the behavior to, that is allowing kids to swear at teachers, for example, more, or is it actually a reduction in the number of incidents that have occurred on the same basis?
So it probably depends on who you're speaking to, but the goal is that our students are learning new behaviors, that they are being redirected when they're making the poor choices, and that they're being taught the right way to engage in the classroom environment.
Right, is there a way to measure that, whether that's effective and whether it's actually resulting in less violations or just less reported violations?
We track the minor offenses, which is, I believe, what you're speaking to, which would be possibly the use of profanity or whatever the disrespect that may be felt or experienced. Those are tracked by our classroom teachers through different mechanisms. So yes, we can aggregate that. It's not something we necessarily put in our area system, but it is a way to
yeah, it'd be just nice to know how it compares, say, with this data you're presenting tonight. Higher, lower, what? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Ms. Medina? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Dr. Hill.
Yes. Is the K violation given when a student refuses to go to class? Or what kind of reprimand are they given?
So we are revising our discipline matrix at this moment. Mr. Culberson is working with a team of individuals to take a look at other means of correction so that those type of incidents you would only be suspended if you've done other means of correction and it's still not working and there's been other team efforts put in place. So there's not a one answer because it's really about looking at the individual student.
Right. So I wonder if our teachers have a matrix of decisions for kids that are constantly tardy. You guys are looking at me because the staff is that are tardy, that know that they're not going to get a K violation, so they don't care. They just, they know the teachers aren't going to give them a violation, but they continue to be late to class, miss class, and they're wandering in the halls or wandering, so forth. This is high school.
Right, right. And we have to always ask ourselves, what's the way to teach a new behavior? Is the suspension the way to teach the new behavior? For some of our students, that may be exactly what they want.
My question is not that. My question is, have we developed a set of procedures and consequences for those types of kids?
So I would say that we are revising the matrix and that we'll have pieces in there. And then I could ask staff if you'd like me to give a
I would like high school teachers to be part of that group so that they can give, some of them will be harsh, but I think that we can come to a middle ground in terms of, okay, this is the consequence for you, not going to class, because right now they don't have a consequence.
Right.
What I gather, they don't have a consequence.
And so when I get to the next steps, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Also, I'll just share that we have a collective under the alternative programs that includes teachers and counselors and some community-based organizations that started up this last year, and they too are providing input.
And I would like kids in there too. The kids that are the ones that are defying us, because they're the ones that will tell you the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Dr. Flores.
Yes, for me, I wanted to find with Section K, isn't it also where it's the teacher's discretion to see if they're the ones with behavior to the student, they're the ones that fills out that form or gets that Section K for the student?
I think you may be referring to suspension out of the classroom by the classroom teacher.
Well, in order to get this piece, because you're saying that it all depends on the student's behavior, so I'm wondering it's because of the teacher's discretion, at teacher's discretion, right?
No. The principal is the one who actually does the suspensions.
Okay.
But what we're saying is that many times on these type of incidents, it is things that start in the classroom setting, and then they get referred to the office for further because it has escalated.
Okay, so it's referred to the principal, and the principal is the one that...
Or the vice principal.
The vice principal or the principal, then they receive this referral, and they're the ones that put in for the suspension.
Yes.
Okay.
In-class suspension is not K, is it? So
in-class suspension.
No. So a teacher has, by ed code, the authority to suspend out of their classroom for 2 days, and I just confirmed with Mr. Culberson, K would include those.
Okay, so if a teacher does a referral for section violation K, and sends it to the principal or the vice principal, they get automatic 2 days, or it's a discretion of the principal to say that we're going to go ahead and suspend them?
They can suspend, the teacher can suspend up for 2 days, and they can suspend out of their classroom. That doesn't mean that they get sent home. They could be placed in another classroom. They're just not placed in that classroom. It would still go into our K violations.
Okay. And then also when the students go into another classroom, are they receiving the instruction? Because that's another piece of it, because a lot of times for small behaviors, because it's not like the other violations, this is Section K. I mean, this is a minor offense. Kids lose instruction, which is very important to the kids in the classroom. And so my thing is, how many kids are out of the classroom? And if they're out of the classroom, what kind of instruction are they receiving in order to make sure that they're not losing? So by the time they come back, they've already lost 2 days.
Exactly.
So what are we doing in that case?
Well, that's exactly what this work is about, is minimizing that. So we're going to continue to minimize that so that they're not doing that. We have to understand that it is an ed code allowable for teachers, so it's the ongoing work with the principal and the teachers, especially teachers who may be struggling more with classroom management and may be suspending out of their classroom more frequently than others. It's the same, so you have to target the teacher to understand what the needs are and then support that teacher in changing the behaviors.
Okay, and so, because for me, I remember advocating and getting this removed in several years before I was on the, while I was on the board. And there's other districts like Los Angeles that actually removed this or adjusted the language in order to incorporate where maybe a person's bias or a certain behavior that a child might have done that, like you said, classroom management would have helped maybe minimize that situation, and now the student is suspended for 2 days.
And so the further, the next slide will show that we have schools that have made dramatic decreases in our K exactly because of those reasons, because of the work that has been going on with those schools, directly targeted action planning, data analysis, monitoring, and training. Okay. Training around cultural biases, right. Training around understanding where students are coming from, trauma sensitivity, all of that. The targeted cohort schools have received more intensified training that we will be taking district-wide this school year.
Okay, and then when you look at, and one more question regarding, because we only passed the slide, is on, we're looking at elementary school and middle school and high school. Are you, is there any way to look at by grade level? Because I just want to make sure when you're looking at elementary school, what are the grades? I know there's a certain limit, right? Is it from third grade?
K3, K3 where they are not to be. So we'll get you that data. I actually think it may be on the, I know it is on the thumb drive, but we can get you a further breakdown.
Please, because that would help me look at what grades are at higher risk and how we can minimize that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. After she's finished, Dr. Wyatt, can you hold? All right. Mr. Gallo, can you wait? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so here we are, and I feel like I've been kind of teasing you because I kept saying, here, it's coming, it's coming. So this is the data from the cohort schools. Now, altogether, I believe there was 26 cohort schools over the last 3 years. One group started with the disproportionality grant, and then they kept adding new schools to it, so they would continue working with those same schools, and they would add more schools. The second year in, we had the disproportionality grant, where we were able to hire staff to work with those identified schools, and then we had the project prevention grant, where we were able to bring in even more staff who was working specifically in the Pacific cluster. And so you can see when I want to make sure the board is reading this. This is baseline data. So this is actual number of students who were suspended when we first started looking at K violations. So this was back in 12-13, so as the very beginning, right? By elementary school, middle school, and high school. We had 11 elementary, 6 middle, and 8 high schools that have gone through this very focused, intensive support and ongoing training with our alternative programs and with youth services. Then from there, we break it down by how many of those students were African American and how many were Latino in the actual number of students suspended. So that's your baseline. So if we're looking at elementary, we've got 124 students that were suspended at those 11 schools. Of them, 36 were African American and 44 were Latino students. In 2016-17, for those same schools, we've dropped to 31. And we can see that 7 were African American and 18 were Latino students. And so you can see that at those particular schools, we have a very large decrease of the K violations, very much speaking to what you're talking about, Ms. Medina. So we know, and just look at those middle and high school, the high schools, many of them just started this work last school year, just this last school year, and they have made dramatic changes in student suspensions, keeping students in class and finding new ways to work with them. And you know, I'm reminded, yesterday we had 5 students speak at the Gathering of Excellence, and they really talked about the importance of caring teachers. And not just teachers, they said all the adults, that they need to know that the adults care about them. I think it was actually Isabel who specifically said, tell us your story, and then that makes it safe for us to tell you ours. And in that, you start to create a different kind of learning environment for children. And we know for the students that we serve that that's very important, because our students come in and they're carrying things from home, right? They're carrying things from the community. And when we have classroom environments that are welcoming and supportive, and this feeling on campus that the adults really care about our well-being, and even when I make a mistake as a student, someone's going to help me get back on track. And they're not going to give up on me. And so we're really pleased with this data, because this is the work. And this work specifically is around bringing teachers together with their principals, looking at their data, talking about cultural biases, talking about what does the data tell us about what's going on at our school, developing action plans, monitoring them, and then refining them. And so it is about leading that work at the school site, not just the site principal. It's about the classroom teachers and the counselors doing that work together. And this is what we plan on taking district-wide this school year. When we get to the number of expulsions, we continue to drop our number of expulsions. We're at 99 students that were actually expelled this school year or were stipulated to other campuses. If a student goes through youth court, though, because we're going to talk about youth court in a moment, they would still be included in these numbers, as well as students who may have been put up for expulsion but then remanded back to the school sites because of an error in due process. So those numbers still will be there at the state level, but we know that we have a few less students actually being expelled because of some of these restorative practice, youth court being one of them. We know that youth court is an exemplary model. Next year we plan on submitting for a Golden Bell on behalf of the board. So we had to have 2 years of data, and we started youth court. I say we, I wasn't here yet, but youth court was started under Mr. Culberson's leadership with, I believe it was 9 or 6 students, pilot? 9 students in 2014-15, really went gung-ho last school year and this year. So we're pleased with the work of youth court. So let me talk a little bit about that, and then we'll bring our students up. So in 2015-16, there were 87 students referred to youth court, and they get referred in different ways, board. They might get referred from a school, or youth services may review the folder and say, this is a really good candidate for youth court. Let's put them through it. In 2016-17, we scaled that up to 129 students and really started taking some offenses that were a little bit more challenging, but really trying to figure out, is this going to work for our more challenging offenses? And I had the opportunity to go and visit one time, and it's pretty remarkable to see the students really take leadership and ownership of their learning, right, and giving them opportunities. So in 15-16, 64 of those 87 students actually completed the youth court process, and it is not it's not easy. It's a pretty rigorous process. And what we're really happy about, of those students, 81% of them have not been suspended or recommended for any kind of expulsion over these 2 years. So that's what we want. We want them to learn new behaviors, right? We don't want to give up on them. We want them to know that we care about them. In 16-17, we have 70 students who have completed. We've got another 26 in progress. We anticipate that that percentage will go up. So right now, as to date, we've got 79% of our students who have completed of the 129. I would like to bring up our 2 students to really talk about their experience. They both were part of youth court because of a choice that they made that they learned something new about, and we're really proud of their growth. So, who's speaking first? Sky. Come on up. Yes.
Hello, I'm Skyen Bell. I go to Sierra High School. I'm a senior.
Put your mic closer.
Mic closer? Okay. Sorry, I'm nervous.
Oh, you're doing great.
Like I said, I'm Skyen. I'm a senior. I go to Sierra High School. I'm a volunteer now for San Bernardino Restorative Youth Court. I started as a respondent. It's a good program. Sorry. Okay. It's a good program. Like I said, sorry. All right.
Why do you think it is? Why do you think it's a good program?
All right. It's a good program because, like, me, like I was a fighter and everything and all that. I came to this program, and like everything changed. Like my grades changed. And, like I see people that come in that started like off bad and came here and changed. And like me, I'm a helpful person. So like now that I'm here now, I've been here for I believe almost a year for this youth court. And like I help people now.
Fantastic.
I see what I can do, and I see what other people can do coming through this program. And
Sky, what motivated you to shift, to make different decisions?
Miss, sorry, I pronounced your name wrong. My mom, my second mom.
Your second mom?
Yes, and Mr. Henry, Dr. Izagiri, sorry. But yes, and sorry, I was told by my, I'm gonna skip to this part. I was told by my counselor that I was supposed to be graduating in February, and I want to go to University of Australia. And I was asked this year to be help found the youth court leadership team, which is 10 students with 4 being previous respondents, which is me and some others. I like it because I'm a mentor, and others are growing as a leader is a good thing. And yeah, sorry. No, I'm not done, but can I?
You're doing great.
You're doing great, Sky.
Okay.
Yeah, we all enjoy hearing what's going on in your life. That's great.
And 2009, I believe, something like that. I wasn't always a troublemaker, nothing like that. I'm a good child, but yes. And yeah.
That's great.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Skylar. You did a great job. Thank you.
Can I ask one question? So you said when you graduate, you're going to go where?
Australia University.
And is that it? You said Australia University?
Yes.
So you want to move to Australia?
Yes.
You know anybody in Australia?
My sister-in-law.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Hello, I'm Casimir Middleton, and I'm going to the 11th grade at San Andreas High School, as you can see on the board. I came to, San Bernardino Restorative Youth Court as a respondent, but now I'm a volunteer. After I finished the things that I had to do as a respondent, I continued to come back to the program because I like what they did and I like helping people. I came to the program in November of 2016, so last year, and I completed it February, February 4th, I think February 4th. So I've been a respondent now for a few months, and being a volunteer for a few months. Being a volunteer, I moved up to be part of the leadership team, and it's a good thing. It's, like you said, 10 other students, and we help the respondents that come, and we help mentor them, tell them it's okay, because when I came, I was scared, and I thought everybody was going to judge me, but it's really the opposite. Everybody, like, encourage you to do better, and they just help better yourself. I went to the summit, the California Association of Youth Courts, June 22nd, and I stayed there till June 24th. At the summit, I learned new things about all the other youth courts and stuff in Los Angeles and Humboldt and all the other cities. And it was amazing. I liked meeting the new people, the cops, the other mentors. And it also helped me. And I signed up to be a part of the student advisory board. And I'm just waiting to see if I got in. I just sent it in. And I also, while I was at the summit, I got an interview in Santa Monica, and I went, and it's all on this YouTube channel now, so yeah. I think the San Bernardino Restorative Youth Court is a great program, an opportunity for kids, and it helps them, and it's not just suspending them and expelling them and making them go to a new school district. It's also helping them getting their grades better and actually liking school and knowing like, oh, there's things you could do other than get in trouble. Like you could actually go to college and do something with your life instead of being a troublemaker. I wasn't bad. I just made one wrong mistake, so I'm not just like a troublemaker. I think that this program should stay here for as long as the San Bernardino School District is. I think we should continue to have this program for kids because it's just good. The teachers, Miss Mickey and Mr. Henry, Dr. Henry, they're like the best parents. Not like I came from them, but like they're like the best other parents. That's great. And that you could have, and they help you with a whole bunch of things, and that's why I'm now here, and I'm getting better grades, and I'm focusing more on school. I'm helping people out, and I'm just being nicer. Well, I think I'm being nicer. I'm nicer now, and I'm happier. I'm not fighting no more. I'm not like, I just walk away from arguments and just like, I help myself staying away from a whole bunch of situations, and I just ignore people now. I don't always have to stick up for myself. Like I could always just tell somebody and they could help, so I won't have to get in trouble and come to this program all over again or get expelled this time. So I just think this youth court is great for kids like me. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you both for sharing.
Wow.
Dr. Hill, can I ask you some questions?
A question?
Yeah. So how'd you get recommended for the program?
Oh, I got in trouble.
Okay. And then, but specifically, what happened? Your teacher, your security guard, who was it that said?
It was my principal, my vice principal, actually.
So your vice principal brought you in and said?
Yeah, he brought me in and my parents.
And your parents, and they said, we want you to go to this program?
Yes.
And how long ago was that?
That was in November.
So you went to the program in November, and then how extensive was the program? How many times a week, or what was it?
Actually, you go 4 times. That's the limit, the highest. So I went to youth court 4 times. Okay. And I had other classes like anger management and weapons diversion and all the other stuff that helped me complete the program.
And so, an incident occurred, and then you had to go. So you talked about there's still times where you have to avoid incidents. So if you had control of money and resources, what would you do to contact some of those students who may not have been referred because they haven't gotten caught doing the things that cause problems? What would you do to identify those people early and tell them about the program?
I just like how we're getting posters and we're putting them at every school in San Bernardino, and people could look. It has a lot of details. It has pictures.
So just stop right there. So you think if you had not gotten in trouble, you would have responded to the posters?
I feel like if I didn't get in trouble, I feel like I'll give it a try. Like I'll go and see how it worked.
So you know of people who are going to the program because of the posters?
Well, the posters aren't out yet. They're going to be.
That's what I'm asking. Okay. All right. So you think I'm just trying to figure out a way we can get more people into the program to get access to the resources. And I guess the last question would be to not only you but other staff. Do you think there's enough resources there to handle more people?
Well, that's me too? Or?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought you said to him. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't think there's enough resources. I think that schools should talk about it more, like on the school presentations. They should talk about it like weekly because it's every Monday and Wednesday. So I feel like every teen and kid should at least go once a month and just check it out and see how it goes. And I feel like, yeah, we do need more resources to tell people and teens and stuff like that about it.
Thank you, and great presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, of all the other lights, Dr. Flores, any questions I guess we have?
Right.
And get all the questions
I wanted to follow up with Mr.
students.
Tillman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with Mr. Tillman because both of you, I commend you very much for making and, having the opportunity, but also you had to decide your own self to shift, correct?
Yes.
You had to make that decision yourself. And to me, that's really, really speaks well of the staff because you supported them in enabling to make better decisions for your highest and best good, correct?
Correct.
So my question was to the staff. As board members, we need to know what is it specifically that you need so that you can advance and support, so that we can support you and reach more students. The quality, you two are such incredible examples, all right? So how do we reach other kids? And if we need, like Mr. Tillman said, what are the resources that we have to designate to you? Because we're the governing body. We're the ones that make the decisions about how to distribute the money. So I'm asking the staff, and I'm asking you because this is so important. This is so important. And Dr. Marsden, we need to know from the staff, what is it specifically that you need? Money, other resources. I know you all need money. That's important. But what are the other resources that we need? So, and I just want to commend you both. I've been to Australia. I loved it. I don't know where you're going. To Sydney? Oh, go to Melbourne. Melbourne is really cool too. So anyway, they eat a lot, by the way. Those Australians eat a lot. I don't mean it derogatorily. I just mean that they're good eaters. So anyway. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before the students sit down, any more questions for the students? Ms. Medina or Mr. Gallo for the students? Ms. Rogers, Dr. White for the students?
I have one more thing.
Sure.
Like towards the suspensions, like I believe like that in like students that like get suspended for like bigger crimes such as fights and stuff, and like anything bigger than that but like not too big, like they should be able to go through our program too, because like I said, a job not too big, not too small, but like to give them a second chance as well.
Good comment. Thank you so much. And we certainly heard you, and we agree. There are a lot of people need second chances, and a few need third chances. So we agree with you. And I just want to commend both of you for doing a great job. It's not easy to stand here and look at us up here and not get nervous, and we understand that. But know that we are here because we want to see suspensions, expulsions, referrals at 0%. We don't want to see any, and I know we say that's impossible, but nothing's impossible. Everything is possible that we can do. So if there's anything that comes up that you feel we need to do, make sure you go through your second set of parents back there and let them know. I didn't say this Tuesday night, but I think it's important if the board would assist us with A, B, C, D. We appreciate that because it's your life, it's your livelihood, and it's about you and your quality of life and who can be in a better position to give us solutions other than you. So, talk to your peers. And the thing is, we don't want students using profanity towards staff members. We aren't going to tolerate that ourselves. And we don't want fights going on. We don't want bullying going on. But the thing is, those things can be fixed. So we depend on you to help us fix those things so students can get an education, that your teachers will smile at you every day because they're glad to see you and knowing you're not going to get in trouble and those types of things. So thank you for being here. Thank you.
And when you visit youth court, you just feel that family, right? You just feel it everywhere. There's students there that aren't there for any other reason than just to be with each other and to find a safe home. So it's just a great experience. So here's our next steps. So we firmly know, PBIS has been in our district for quite a few years. But the level of implementation has varied based on the level of support that has been given. So our 26 schools that have had the cohort support have a deeper level of implementation, and we see the results of that. Our expectation this year, and this is what you should expect to hear and see from our teaching staff and our principals, is we will be identifying, we're going to be asking our principals to identify key people at every school who will be trained on a monthly basis to be that expert, if you will, at the school site to really deepen PBIS and restorative practices, coupled around trauma sensitivity and really understanding that challenges that our students face can impact their neurological development. And so having key people on campus who can work with their peers to deepen this work. Key people that will be trained with this amazing staff behind us. We need to get this work deep into our schools at every school to start to make that kind of impact that we see at our cohort schools. So broadening and scaling up, that's what we'd expect to. We will be doing this school year, and for the next 3 years, we're very fortunate to have received that grant. I never remember what it's called, LSSP, something like that, LCSSP. I need to learn what it is, but that's going to fund this work so that we have at every elementary school at the minimum 2 certificated staff who will work monthly with our staff to become the experts. At our middle schools, 3 people. At our high schools, 4 people. And at our schools who have higher challenges, regardless of the level, we're going to fund extra people because we know that it doesn't have to be about being the same. It has to be about giving the schools what they need. But they will have ongoing support from our staff so that we're permeating the system. And there are key people at the school to help teachers, to help counselors, to help everybody when children are having some challenges. What do they do with that? And so they'll be working with our staff, action planning, data analysis, understanding how biases impact how they may interact with students. And we really believe that this work will not only support our students, but it'll support our families. And so we're very hopeful that this work will make a difference, and we know that it has in those 26 schools, our own students, our own teachers. Our whole premise is around this idea of prevention and early intervention. We want the prevention piece around the training on PBIS, teaching clear expectations with positive reinforcements, teaching how to manage and monitor your own social-emotional well-being, and then really building those authentic relationships. That's the prevention piece. But there are going to be times when students make the wrong choice because we're all human and we all make the wrong choice. And we're not bad students. We just made the wrong choice. And so we need to be taught a new behavior. We need to be given another opportunity. That's where the early intervention comes into play, so that we have less students being referred out of the classroom setting for whatever violation that might be. We have less students being sent out to another school site, that they feel welcome and supported and redirected with new behaviors and given an opportunity to show that they can learn from their mistakes and their errors. And then finally, board, we are going to scale up youth court. So right now, this last school year, it's been just at the district office. We had tasked youth services to, okay, let's get this at some of our schools. And so they've been working with some of our schools, and we have 2 high schools identified. It will be at San Bernardino High School, and it will be at Indian Springs High School for sure to start at the beginning of this school year. Indian Springs is looking very data-driven, looking at making sure that their students are getting to class on time and no truancy. So they're going to be looking specifically at that. That is a data-driven need at Indian Springs. And they will have a student-run youth court that will take place outside of the school day, after school. That's part of the challenge, is figuring out who's going to be on youth court and when it's going to take place. San Bernardino High School has an academy, and so their youth court will be through their academy. Those will be the members on youth court, and their data shows that they need to decrease fighting on campus. And so the students will be referred to their youth court specifically for fighting. student youth services will be looking at how that's working and supporting the school in the training of the staff and the monitoring of it. And now Sierra has raised their hand and said, you know, we'd really like to pilot something as well. So we're going to be looking at bringing them on. Want to get the first 2 schools up and running, and then bring in Sierra, and then we think we're going to go tap on Sanji's shoulder and say, would you like something too? Because we'd like to be able to move in that direction. So our goal is to have youth court at our high schools, and then as we get better at that and figuring out how this looks, what this looks like, what's working, what's the best indicator or the piece that we want to turn around by school, and the school identifies that, then we can think about scaling up to the next level. But we don't want to go too fast and then be backpedaling, and so we want to make sure that we're making the right decisions. So we're very hopeful for what's going to the next 3 years will look like, and you know, we know that we're going to continue to get better at being the best, and yes, Dr. Hill, we want 0 suspension, 0 expulsion, 0 referrals. We want that as well. So I see lots of green lights.
Yes, all the lights are on. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thanks to all of you for you being here. And I think the yellow shirts are the PBIS trainers, am I right?
Not all of them. Some of them are not in yellow shirts, and they still are PBIS and restorative justice people. So there's quite a few in the audience.
Well, thank you for being here. And since all the lights are on, Mr. Tillman, let's start with you, and we'll just go to the end here.
I guess like on page 9, the percentages, they are for the number of actual suspensions, but you could have multiple students. I mean, you could have one student with multiple suspensions.
Yes.
So do we have anything that shows just the number of students?
It is on your thumb drive. We can get you that data as well. Yeah. Would you like that by the student groups?
Yeah, I just think in all of this, 17%, you know, gives you an idea. But if it's 17% of the 8,000 population in terms of the African Americans, it's suspension rate, but it's only 8% of the students, then that tells
correct.
That's an important piece. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's for all the different groups and the total part. When you actually see because then the story might be that it's just a few groups of students who are getting suspended a whole bunch of times, and that would help a whole lot in determining, you know, how big the problem is and how many students you're really dealing with, because it might be easier to get a handle on. And then I really didn't understand this chart with the K violations. Mm-hmm. If you had this many schools reduce K violations by this amount, I'm assuming that a K violation led to a suspension. It didn't?
No, a K violation is a suspension, okay. Yes. It's one of different violations.
But if you had the reduction this high, then at this many schools, then more importantly, are there schools that numbers are still high? And I think it's important that we know those so that we can immediately say those are some of the schools, you know, we're going to target. Because if you just gave us a list of schools that you're going to try it at, but to me it would be a tragedy if you're going to use it, implement at schools, but there are schools that we don't know about that have a skyrocketing problem, and we're not going to put resources there. So just so I would feel comfortable, I'd like to see the list of the schools that have the highest number of suspensions, and the numbers have gone up instead of going down, because those are schools that the board should be aware of, so that, not so we should blame people, but to make sure we put the resources there to make the difference.
Right, and so just to clarify, Mr. Tillman, the youth court will be for students who, the potential suspension and expulsion students, but district-wide, every school will have people on staff that we'll be working with, and specifically the schools that we know have higher suspension rates, we're going to have more people trained on those staff. And that data is, and we'll get you that data, I know that it's on the thumb drive as well.
I still think, and when we do presentations, that it's good to identify where we still know we have problems. I think a lot of times in presentations, we talk about what's going good, but we don't want to talk about the sites that stand out as problems. But the problem with that is you have students and staff working at those sites. So the biggest frustration I have is when it comes time for us to say we have some additional funding and how we're going to spend it. If I don't have that information, I don't even know to advocate for how the money should be spent. So to me, what this should come down to is, and what I was kind of getting at, is show me the sites that still have issues, show me the groups that have the biggest issues, and then tell us what we can spend the money on that can make the biggest difference. What can give us the biggest bang for the buck? You know, I heard someone say we want to spend a whole bunch of money on professional services. Well, if we're going to do that, it's because you're going to show me that by doing that, it's going to change these numbers. If that's not the part that doesn't, then I don't want to spend the money on that. But the board should be empowered to know, you guys should make the case for us why we think we should spend in this way. And then we should be able to go through the list of priorities and say, okay, we agree, and based on what you've told us will solve these problems and what we think are a big issue, then we'll, fund those areas. But to me, there's nothing more important than targeting these students that have so much potential. For the young man that went to Sierra High School, I have two young men that work right now, Dwayne Hunt and Jermaine Mims, and they were at Sierra, and I mentored them in their senior year. And they work for me doing computer work, and they're computer analysts right now. So you have so much potential, and I hope you realize that. Because you go to San Andreas and Sierra does not mean that you don't have the same intellectual potential as any other student at any other school. So I hope that you realize, because you were fortunate to get in this program, that now you can realize your potential. And that's what my passion is, to see so many students that end up not being able to reach their potential because they have a discipline problem, or we're not handling that discipline problem in the right way. So I just want to make sure we get that additional information, but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel, for the presentation. Have we conducted any teacher surveys to see how they think this program and these programs, not necessarily the court piece, but just PBIS in general, and are they seeing a reduction in incidents, or are they simply just being more tolerant and things like that? Have we gotten a sense for what the staff's opinion is on these?
Rose, do you have an answer?
Because I've heard a whole variety of...
Do we survey the staff? So we have done surveys through, so we have, as part of our schools submit for the PBIS Coalition, and we get awarded gold and silver and bronze, platinum awards, and as part of that, there's a survey embedded in there.
We also do a self-assessment.
And there's a self-assessment as well.
There's a school climate survey through the STARS council as well.
And so our schools in the Pacific Cluster have had some ongoing support with our project prevention grant. We call them our STARS support, and they have an assessment as well, a self-assessment.
Yeah, again, I'm just trying to drive, are we actually seeing a variance or a reduction in the behaviors that would drive these suspensions to begin with? And that's really what I'm trying to drive at, because, having 0 suspensions may or may not mean anything. That's a good goal and everything, but if you're just tolerating the behavior, that isn't necessarily what we're looking for.
No, it doesn't help the educational outcome.
But that would be the metric that I would be interested in hearing. So
noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Medina.
Thank you for the presentation. I wanted to see if you were able to provide the grant, because of the budget. We're going to need the budget, and you said that we were able to receive the grant money. If you can show us what was submitted to the organization to get the funding, so we can see what's going to happen with the program. I haven't been able to find out what the exact name. I know you were trying to get the name of it, but it would be great for us. It would be great for us to see what we qualified for, what was mentioned into that portion of the grant, and then what we're going to push for in the district.
Absolutely. I think that will be coming to board shortly. And just to know that even the grant, we're still going to be, with the additional funds that we're going to be recommending to the board with some of our carryover that we use some of that as well to make sure that we highlight some
of those areas.
additional schools that we know have a little bit more needs. So that'll be forthcoming.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Great presentation. I do want to say to the youth, they did a great job coming forward and just giving information. I always love to hear from the youth because we are making decisions for you, and you know what works for you best. So I appreciate that. And I know the young man, I think he left, and I had wrote down, I agree with him, second chances. That was one of the things I had wrote while listening to him and you as well. We do need to look at that. Sometimes we just lead with what we don't want, and if you don't make that, then there's no option. And I know you guys are looking for options, and that is our job to do. So thank you so much for that. A couple of questions that I had is and as Mr. Tillman had mentioned as well, I think as it goes, especially on our presentations, it's very important that we just know the body count. I think it looks better, and that, maybe that didn't sound very good, but the actual number of students helps us to look at those numbers and see where they're coming from, and it looks a little bit more simplified, at least for me when I'm looking at the numbers. And I know you probably don't want to discount the work that you did, putting it on a PowerPoint or putting it on a drive for us, and probably if we just go and stick it in our computer, we can look at this information. But as a rule of thumb, I think we ask that every single time, show us the number so we can line it up. Two, because it also will give us a better idea to look at where is it specifically coming from, and sometimes we can just do some targeted things immediately when we know. But one additional clarification that I had was on the K violations. When I looked at it, it had a total of 670 in the shaded green teal box.
I apologize, it's kind of hard to read.
I know when I looked, and I don't like to admit that sometimes when I can't see because I'm still trying to hold on. But it looks like it's 670. But so if I'm doing the math, is it correct to go to the next page and add up all the alls? And that's part of that number as well?
No, because thank you for clarifying, 670 is all of our schools, every single, and this is the schools that got the additional ongoing training and support. So there's not, all of those students won't be represented.
So when you say so what does 31, 210 mean, 298 then again?
So those are the students at those 11, so the 11.
Just at the schools, they did not get K violations?
Only 11 had K violations this school year at those 11 schools.
Only 11.
So in other words, there are other elementary schools that aren't included right here.
So that is my question. These 31, 210, 298, they got K violations, right?
Right.
But when I look at the previous page and say 670, are they in that number?
They are in that number, yes.
So if they're in that number is, out of these ones, these are our targeted schools, is a very large number, and it's only something like 90 at other schools. Is that what this is telling me?
That is some of what this is telling you. What it doesn't show you is some of these schools, they just started this work last school year. That's our high schools most specific. So they've only had 1 year of training.
Okay.
Some of the schools, they've had 3 years of training. We did have another slide on it, but it was really hard to show the impact. It was too much to show. So the schools who have had 3 years of ongoing support have had the greatest drops.
So out of these 26, there are some that have had that extra training or not?
All of these 26 have had at least 1 year of training. Which ones? Some of them.
It's total 26.
Right. How many started the first year? We had 6 on that.
So 6 of this 26 had the training.
That was, yeah.
So are we missing some in here or not?
No, we're not missing it. What is you could slice things in different ways. What this shows is when schools have that ongoing support, that over time, they grow in their capacity to make different choices for students. And that's what we're getting at. And in our high schools and in our middle schools, we know the behaviors are a little more challenging.
Right.
Kids are just testing their wings.
But I think what I'm just trying to know, if I was to be asked how many K violations were given out, is the number 607?
Yes.
Okay, so
for
out of
the school year.
For the school year. And out of the 670, there are these identified schools that we're providing additional support to, right?
Correct.
And these are their numbers. And these numbers make up part of the 670.
Correct. Correct.
which is 500 and something, like 539.
And note that many of them are our secondary schools, where if we go back to that original graph, we tend to have more of the K violations at our secondary schools than we do at our younger ages.
Which, yes, and I see
Yeah.
the differences. I'm just concerned that these are the schools that we have identified and targeted, which is good because they have the highest numbers clearly, but it's still alarming to see that they make up, and then the other schools make up 90 of these 670. That
Understood.
is really my point. So we've identified them, but it's still alarming that we have this many schools carrying this many violations out of the 70 that we have.
4 middle schools and two or three high schools.
And then these 11, right?
But the elementary's not counting K violations.
Okay, so.
You want to
these two-
expound on the K violations for
So it'll
elementary?
be 505.
On how do K violations work at the elementary level?
Well, so we're not to suspend for
Right.
K-3.
Right.
So we're only looking at our 4th and 5th grade, and then if you have a
Got it.
6th grade student at your elementary, they would be included in there. So most of our K violations, just because of the sheer grade levels, will be at the middle and high school.
But for the sake of this report, the middle school and the high school, which would be a total of 505, is part of the 670
Correct.
in this cohort of schools. That's still alarming to me. But I'm happy that we've identified it. But my concern,
Right, no, yeah, understood. They just
Okay.
said all of high school is represented here, and I know you understand.
all of high school and all middle, or no, not all middle.
How many middle schools? Almost all middle, not all. How many middle schools do we have?
I can't
8,
remember from
9,
either myself.
a good majority of them.
Okay. You hear, but
Understood,
do you get what I'm
yes.
saying?
I understand what you're saying.
So again, I'm glad we have identified them, but there's a lot of meat more in this because they're carrying the bulk of the problem, while whoever's not reported here is not a part of the 505 K violations there. So then we can zero in and do a better job seeing what exactly is happening, which goes to my question that I always ask. I heard you earlier at the beginning of the presentation say PBIS is at all of these schools, right?
Yes,
And
at
so
varying levels.
And you said the district this year, are we going to say that the entire district this year is going to adopt PBIS and be able to say that the restorative justice practices are going to be district-wide? Are we still going to say we're piloting some places?
So, and I've heard you ask that question, so I'm very clear on that. It is district-wide. The training and ongoing support had not been the same level district-wide. So it's like giving a teacher, let's say, a new math book and not helping them to really understand how to do it. One teacher gets the new math book and they might be able to implement it, but the level of implementation is going to vary. The one who gets that ongoing support knows how to implement it, get someone going into their classroom, they're going to do a better job. PBIS and restorative practices through trauma sensitivity will be district-wide. We will be working with key individuals at every school so that they can then explain the why behind the work, because what happened at the schools who got the ongoing support and what happened at the schools that initially piloted PBIS many, many years ago, I think before these 5 years, is that they spent time as a team understanding the why behind it and really working on looking at choices that students might make as behavioral choices and a cry for or a call out for a need versus they're just trying to be defiant and bad.
But our district is going to embrace it completely district-wide this year
Completely.
going forward.
And we are going
that
to
what we're
work
gonna do?
diligently. We are committed to making sure that that is ongoing, not just with our staff, but we're bringing in some parent pieces to it too, because it is truly a cultural shift and a whole community
I totally
piece.
wholeheartedly agree with you. It has to be. If we can't say that, then the problem that I have with it, that means that there are some schools or some students somewhere else that probably would have that second chance if they were there. But students are where they are. And what we do for one over here at the 6 schools or the 7 or the 8, we need to do it for all. Otherwise, we're going to continue to be able to feed and starve over here. And we just don't, we can't, I just can't emphasize that. And I know I bring it up every single time, and we're saying it again. And sometimes it sounds like yes, but then it kind of sounds like no. But we need to do that. And whatever that is, that we need to do, we have to do that, because we'll talk about the money, we'll say the money. I don't particularly think there's a money issue to look at, because we need to identify the need and then say this is how much it costs. To do it district-wide is just not fair for a student to be somewhere getting suspended and then be somewhere else not getting suspended. Until we can fix that internally, then we're always going to continue to have that argument about, well, if they were in Rialto or if they were in Redlands, which I'm not there, I'm here, and this is what we need to fix. So I hope that that's the message that we have going forward. And I can go into the community and say, we are doing this, and we are doing everything that we can to keep students in their seats and making sure that if there are behavior issues, we're not automatically suspending them, but we're sending them to places such as youth court in order for them to address the behavior so they can get back into the class and become productive in their education. And then my other question was, what is the age or what is the grade level for youth court? Is it just high school? Is it
No, we
middle
actually,
school?
I believe that they, some middle school students were served this year. Did we go 5 through 12? We went as low as 5th.
So as a practice, it's all. Okay, I think.
And Ms. Rogers, so that you know, we've even, under Roseanne Bomitri's leadership, I want to
I know,
say that.
it's
Did I
new
say it
for
right?
us to try to get that right.
I know,
Yeah.
sorry. She
Okay,
said that every time, but I still
Bomitri.
can't remember. Bomitri.
Throwing us off.
The whole alternative programs has been redesigned, if you will, for this coming school year so that every school has a point person. Even if that's not the person who's the expert in that area, they will be the connectors for that particular school. So we are working to make sure that this is a district-wide practice because we want it as much as the board does.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your presentation, totally in support of the restorative justice practices, PBIS, as well as youth court, a big advocate of youth court. And I would hope that as we look at our pilots, we would look at even if we can have them at all high schools or all middle schools or whatever the case may be and duplicate what we do well everywhere instead of, you know, here, there, and everywhere. Thank you
Love
again.
to see the high schoolers go down and train the middle schoolers,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's
And
on the road.
as the youth spoke, I think the youth are the best ambassadors. When we were asking the question, well, what should we do? What should we do? We can make them ambassadors, and they talk to each other more than we can ever talk to them, and get them to come on a poster or a post or whatever the case may be. So I hope we looking at them stepping up after they've gone through the program and rewarding them with the opportunity to go and be an ambassador on behalf of what they benefited from.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores.
Yes, I have one clarification question and 3 recommendations. Thank you for the report. It's really, really important, and just want to echo what my colleagues have said. We believe very much in youth court, and evidenced by our 2 students, Sky and Casimir. Thank you again for coming. It's real important to hear your voices. So on page 9, it says, you know, N served. Does N served mean that's the total number? Or is that the total number of students suspended?
No, that is the total number of students enrolled.
Enrolled, okay. So probably would be better to use enrolled or whatever. And again, I want to recommend that when you put percentages, like above like 12.9%, I went on my calculator, it's about 862 students. Right. We need the raw numbers, and I think we keep asking for that. And I would really highly recommend that because for 2016-17, 862 African-American students were suspended, and 1,875 Latino kids were suspended.
That's not right, though.
No?
No. That rate does not give you actual people. It gives you the number of suspensions, but you could have one person that gets multiple suspensions.
Right, that's true too, but accordingly, that could be, if we were to just look at this, and the question that you ask is real important. How many multiple ones are there and how many actual ones are? But it would, if you're looking at this and 4.6% of 40,773, without your caveat of knowing how many times they were suspended, it would turn out to 1,875.
But that's a big deal because I know for a fact you got students that'll be suspended
Right.
5 times.
Right. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. And we don't know how many girls, and we don't know how many boys. And so I would like to know by gender, how many girls, how many boys. So that's one of my recommendations. And when you go to page 13, just like what Mrs. Rogers said, we need to know about all the schools, not just 11 elementary, all the middle schools, and I know we have all the high schools here, but we really do need to know, the percentages and the numbers, and I'm glad that you put the numbers here, the raw numbers, which is really important. But I would prefer to see, where, and it speaks to what Mr. Tillman said. Where are the target schools? Where are the schools where the kids are being suspended? And where do we put the resources to help you all, so to support, the kids and so forth. And if we go to youth court, if we had, how many suspended? Let me go back here. All these total kids that were suspended, where's the total number of suspensions in 2016-17? I don't know where that is. But we'd have to add up all of those, right? Well, anyway, it's disproportionate because we only served in youth court 129 kids out of thousands that need to have it. Yeah. So, where do we direct the resources? We need to know as a board and have more comprehensive data, more specific data, Dr. Marsden, because if we truly believe that we are making hope happen, well, let's put our money where our mouth is, and let's begin to do that for our kids and for our staff that need the support.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Madam President, and my colleagues obviously have covered quite a bit here in some of the items I'd like to review, so I won't be redundant. And again, thank you to Skyn and Casimir. Great job, and I know it takes a lot of courage to come up here and talk in front of folks, and you did an outstanding job. We're real proud of you. I've been very fortunate to be a part of youth court the last couple of years, my first 2 years, by attending their graduation ceremony, and I've seen, one, tremendous growth in the program, which is very nice, but more importantly, tremendous growth in some of the students, because some of the students were there the first time I was there, and then the second time, it was amazing how much they had matured, not just as young men and young ladies, but wow, as ambassadors of the programs and mentors to their peers. So that's really important that we're doing that. I do want to say thank you to all of our staff out there. I know it's not just youth court, but it's everybody that's a part of that, PBIS, our STARS program, all of our counselors out there. So I know this is a major team effort. And each program is probably funded a little bit differently, I imagine, as well. So when we talk about resources, Dr. Flores, this is something, and some of my other colleagues have mentioned this, that I've been talking about for about a year now. And so my question is, are those resources, and when we're talking about resources, let's be honest, we're talking about money. Is it getting where we need it to be? Obviously, the program has been ramped up. It is growing. But in order for us to truly scale it up and take it to scale, and you mentioned this across the district, and Gwen mentioned this, in all schools, I think that's probably a pretty hefty figure, but we need to know what that figure is. We need to know how much it is to really take it to scale and have it in all schools. Because I know before we talked about PBIS, it wasn't in all of our schools before. And I wonder how many are we in now? That would be one question I'd like to have answered. How many schools do we have PBIS fully implemented in right now? And then, obviously youth court, we want to see that grow. And I'm really happy to hear it going into San Bernardino High School. And I saw our newest doctor back there and principal of San Bernardino High School, so outstanding job bringing that in. And then also for Indian Springs, so that is great to hear that as well. But again, as we had said, there's a lot of other kids out there and we only have 129 in youth court, so it'd be nice to see that number go up, but I know the only way that's going to happen is with money. My second concern is the number of percentage of our special ed students that are being suspended. They're only second to our African-American students, coming in at 10.2%. And you know, if you know anything about special ed, the question is, how are these special ed students getting suspended at such a high rate? And I know Michael's not here today, Mr. Dominguez, so you know, I don't want to ask a question that he may be able to answer and defend, but that does raise a huge red flag. We've gone down 5.4%, which is great, and we've gone down in every category, which again, I have to compliment staff. I don't want to sound negative, but with our special ed population, that seems just kind of unreasonably high. So maybe we could get a little bit more information about, you know, what steps we're taking to reduce that. You know, are we going through our, you know, MDs or manifestation determination hearings to ensure that we're addressing these? Are we looking at our BIPs, our behavior intervention plans, or making sure behavior goals are written into the IEP? Those are all things that we need to ensure are happening to try to eliminate this number. So obviously that's a pretty important number to me. Let me see if I missed anything else. Oh, this one's for Ms. Christakos. Obviously in a 5-year trend, we had the number of suspension days go down 12,503 days. So from a business point of view, I know that that's an increase in revenue from days attended. That would be my guess. So would we have a ballpark figure on that?
So overall, our attendance rate went down this past year slightly, so it's in the mix. I'd have to, you know, look at it and get back to you, but we can put $1, we get a certain amount each day on what that would mean.
Okay, and that'd be nice to know. I know maybe not openly, but what our daily amount is. Okay. That's it for me, Dr. Menards. Thank you again for the presentation, and for all our folks out there and our students, great job. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tillman?
Yeah, so just for next steps, so right now, when you talk about youth court and the classes and stuff, if I wanted to go see it, where do they do it at?
Where would you go see youth court specifically?
Yeah.
It is in the green room at our adult school. And that is on Monday and Wednesday afternoons starting, is it 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock.
So if we were going to say, I guess for me, if we're going to grow this, so where is it housed at? Is that where we're going to stay? Is that the ultimate place to be? 2, how many people actually do it? I know Mr. Chahusky looks young and vibrant, but I've been working with her for a long time. So are we building capacity? And if we are going to roll it out, then what does it take in terms of personnel? You know, I'm one of the biggest advocates to say we don't want to incur a whole lot of ongoing costs because at some point we're going to lose funding. But I think the board would be willing to look at the spending, and if there's any money available at all for ongoing costs, this would be something we want to spend the money on. But I think in order for us to be effective, you have to tell us what the actual costs are and what those next steps are so that we can be realistic about growing it out. So that one day, Ms. Rogers can go out there in front of the whole community and say, we have PBS for everyone. So if it's the cost that's prohibiting it, she may not think that money makes all the difference. I do. And I know that in our presentation, we talked about some additional money that came. If it's one-time money, maybe we can use that for facilities or contract employees or whatever it takes to expand this. But I think we should have the opportunity to say, we want to do this, and we want to know what it's going to cost. And if it's too much, then we have to make that hard decision about we can't afford it or how much of it we can afford. But I'd like to see something in front of us that will allow us to have the ability to decide how much we want to spend to expand it.
And just a clarifying question, Mr. Tillman, are you speaking specifically about youth court?
The whole PBIS program,
So PBIS and youth court.
Whatever it would take to expand it, then I'd like to hear that. I mean, because to me it doesn't do any good to say we're going to open up to more schools, but you have the same amount of employees, and so you really don't have the capacity to expand it, and then you start having waiting lists, and I don't even know what we do for transportation, those type of things, but all that stuff is additional cost.
Yeah, and board will do that, definitely, hearing you loud and clear. I'll mention a little later in my comments this evening, but September 5th will be asking you for a budget workshop where we'll bring a recommendation to you on this topic specifically.
I have one last question for Ms. Christakis. On page 6, it said that number of days suspended 13,900. Could you please factor or calculate the ADA that we lost for that number? Okay, thanks. And thank you that we're going to have a September 5th workshop where we will designate and, you know, where we want to go in terms of the money. Yeah.
Based on the discussion here, we'll bring your recommendation.
Exactly.
You bet.
Dr. Wyatt?
My apologies, Madam President. A couple more things. One, I just wanted to make sure, you know, for folks out there watching, that I say thank you to all of our community members also that came out to our, and what are we calling it, Ray and Mickey, our restorative justice graduation, celebration, all the above? Okay, because for my colleagues, you know, I'd like them to be there as well because it'd be nice, but we had a tremendous amount of support from our community members there, and some of the kids, I remember them telling us about a camping trip they went with some of our local police officers. We saw our Public Service Academy folks there, the fire community. So this is truly a community effort. When we talk about bringing the community together and intervening and working with our children, I want to make sure we say thank you to them as well. So, again, thanks.
Thank you. And before the superintendent speaks, and I know we're way behind in time, but I just want to say to you and all the people on the team, thank you so much for your hard work and your dedication. Now, anytime I look at figures and the scales moving in the right direction, I'm happy. So I just want to make sure, number one, students are treated fairly, that we are not letting students get away with anything because we think they want us to lower suspensions and expulsions. Kids need to be held accountable. If not, we aren't doing anything to help them if we're enabling them to call us names and we say, well, we're afraid to do a suspension. No, you got to be in control, not the students. And I hope I never hear again another person say to me, well, you know, we don't suspend now because they tell us not to suspend, that the kids can say anything they want to and we can't do anything about it. Well, what I want to say then, you don't need to be teaching if you can't teach kids not only their English, math, and other subjects, but you have to teach them to be good human beings, and you do that by not accepting profanity, abuse, and I know you're not going to give it, so you shouldn't accept it. The only other thing I want to say, let's be fair to kids, let's be fair to staff, and again, if you're doing a good job, I'd rather see you come up with some things to say to the people in this room, you've done a good job, we know you have more work to do, let's do some incentives. You know, it's like saying I'm doing everything right and I have my suspensions under control, and you have a lot of money, but you're not going to give me any because Ms. Medina here is not doing everything right. And she has a whole bunch of teachers who are saying, you know, let's suspend them, let's get them, let's get them. And all of a sudden, you're going to put thousands of dollars with her. That's not fair. So thank you, but a great presentation, and let's be fair to everybody and give incentives for people who are doing a good job. Thank you so much. Dr. Marsden.
Yeah, I just want to compliment Dr. Moneras, your team, everybody that's here. You have worked so hard on the work you've done. And board, I do encourage you, if you haven't had a chance recently to visit a youth court session, you will see just how sophisticated is the process, how much human resources, volunteer, physically, the people, the students, their training, their professionalism. It's to be complimented. The fantastic work to the team. So thank you. Good job.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. And for those of you out there, I appreciate you being here. Okay, our student board member, Danielle.
I had some questions for clarification. So I've got from the presentation that the youth court and the PBIS and restorative justice are like the mechanisms to, like, intended to fix like the suspension, all that stuff, right? Yes. Oh, closer, sorry. Is that good? Do you want me to repeat it? Yeah. Okay. I got from the presentation that the youth court and PBIS and restorative justice are the mechanisms that you're using, like, intended to fix suspension rates and so forth, right?
Yes, to address all of the overall school culture.
Okay. Youth court, that's, I'm assuming, after school and like away from their schools and everything, right?
Yes.
And I think you asked if Dr. Tillman that if they're recommended by someone, so not everyone who gets suspended like is told to go to youth court. Is that
Right. So youth services or the site principal or the vice principal will take a look at the offense. It could be a potential expulsion that gets placed at youth court, or it could be a suspension.
I can ask the students a question?
Sure.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, how involved were your parents in like your whole, I don't want to say rehab, but trying to get on a better path?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How involved were your parents in the youth court process?
I'm going first. Oh, okay. My mom is really involved. She makes sure I get there mostly every Monday and Wednesday. Hey, look at me. I'm sorry, I get distracted easily. My mom's very involved with the program, and my grandma. My grandma takes me every day because my mom works from 7 to 5, so youth course starts at 4. So my grandma and my mom is very involved, and they help me and push me towards it, and yeah.
Same for me. My mother takes me. Sometimes she picks me up, and if I can't get there by her, she'll send me with someone else. She, I think, have she came too? She came. I believe she came and sat in there and watched a couple times. Oh yeah, the first time when I was a respondent, she came and like sometimes she dropped me off and stayed for a bit, but otherwise, yeah, she's like there or has me come.
Okay, thank you. So I was just thinking, obviously they made a decision to like better themselves, something that they want to do, but also their family's involved. So what about the students that like get in trouble and all this stuff and like they don't have that type of support? What are we doing to cater to them? And also how Dr. Flores is talking about how hundreds, I think you said, were involved in youth court, but not all the people that are getting like suspended or because I know sometimes parents don't really like to. Sometimes they're bothered by stuff. Like I know sometimes I struggle getting my mom to drive me here, so I'd imagine that it plays a big role. So and plus I don't really know much about PBIS or restorative justice, but I do see people who like get suspended, and I don't like seeing them get suspended because I know I like freak out if I miss one class. I can only imagine how like much it's putting them behind or something. So I just.
Excuse me.
Questions,
we give at our youth court for the kids that don't have the parents that take them, or we give them bus passes.
Okay.
And we provide food there, so they never leave hungry. And we provide transportation, so they can come to the youth court and they get treated equally with everyone else.
Have you like friends that have been suspended or anything are just adamant to not going, like they just refuse? Like, have you experienced that?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Isabel, did you have a question? Okay, thank you. Again, thank you so much for your great presentation, and thanks to all of you for being here. And to our young people, enjoy the rest of the week because Monday is a brand new day.
That's right. Good job.
Can
you.
we take a picture with all y'all? Can we take a picture with all y'all?
You bet.
Okay, session 5.0, student board members' comments. Danielle, do we have anything?
I was told earlier to comment on some things I did over the summer. Things I guess are kind of interesting.
A little closer to the mic, Daniel. We can't hear you.
I went to a conference at UChicago, which was helping me to prepare for college and the admissions process. I talked to a lot of admissions counselors, specifically from UChicago, but also like Cornell and other schools. And I recently came from Indiana. I went to a conference for a club I'm president at my school that works with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So that was cool. And I'm off to Princeton on Thursday for a summer journalism program for 10 days, so that's cool. And I enjoyed the presentation we just had. it was really insightful and interesting. So, thanks.
Good, thank you.
Congratulations to you on your upcoming trip.
Exactly.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Ms. Chobe?
Hi. I was also told to talk about what I've been doing over the summer. Kind of can't believe we have our senior year starting on Monday, but that's just me. Last week, I got back from Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I was taking a summer session at Harvard. I took a class on the history of racial and ethnic politics in the United States. It was extremely enlightening, and I learned a lot, and I had a really good time. Like, it was supposed to represent the college experience, so now, you know, now I'm kind of eager to finish high school, but I already was. So there was that, and I mentioned my experience here as a board member on my application, so thank you very much. And I suppose I would shout out my counselor for recommending me for the program, Ms. Tolerico. And that's going to help me a lot with all the college information that just came out today since it's August 1st. So any seniors who are still in here, like, open your Common App soon. And for the UCs. Other than that, in regards to the presentation that just happened, I don't have any questions. I thought it was really thorough. I would agree with what was mentioned, that we should look at other similar districts. Like I saw that in Redlands, they have like half of the suspension rate, and that we share a border with them. So it seems to me that we should look at what they're doing over there. And I'll be meeting with the School Start Times Committee tomorrow to get ready to present to you all at an upcoming board meeting. So I'm still working on that, and I'm looking forward to letting you all know about the issue even more. Thanks.
Thanks to both of you, and as you begin your senior year next week, we wish you the best, and we look forward to you being here as long as you can, and sharing, and certainly sharing with others throughout the district. Thank you so much. We will now move to our public comments. I understand we only have one sheet turned in, so just a reminder, there's a clock up front. It will be 5 minutes, and we would appreciate if you would stick to the 5 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Hill, and board welcomes Mr. Alfredo Aguero. Welcome, sir.
And thank you for being a photographer here this evening, and hope you'll share those photos with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, member of the board and community. My name is Alfredo Aguero, and I'm a community organizer from ICUC, Inland Congregation United for Change. I submit my my paper with two parts for 2 comments. 4.1 and special education. First of all, I like to say that I'm happy to hear about what happened with the program, just the presentation we just have. That's kind of stuff we need on our community to help our kids. Because really, I'm working on special education, and most of the problems we see is that our kids are getting expulsed or suspended. And we know they got issues. They got mental illness. And what I was hearing is the numbers we got, it hurts most people of color, and big numbers. So I think we have to get something to help these kids before they get suspended. PBIS is a good thing, but we need something else. Because sometimes that's not enough. We need programs to help them before they get into trouble. Programs, if this program is after school, we got plenty parks. All we need is, we talk money, organizations who can come and give services to them. We need them out of trouble. We have to put their mind to work. If they're busy on the mind, trouble doesn't come to us. When I got record. When I was youth, I get in trouble, and that made me understand that I have to change my life. I got a special kid. I got with special needs, and that's why I'm here, because I think what is on the information we receive from the districts, from the schools, from the teachers, is not enough. I never hear about this program. And I just talked to Mr. Ray. He told me it's been a couple of years on the district. And when I talk to the parents out on the events we have, nobody knows about this. So I think it's something else that we have to add to this. I know it's money when it's a new program or something. But how many kids are getting help with this? Okay, if we got 8,000 kids, or not say 4,000 kids to help, and they just helping 150, they don't deserve the whole money they're asking. We have to use that money somewhere else. And it's a lot of organizations who are willing to help, but they don't have the funding. And believe me, are good organizations. It's good people outside who's willing to help. Sometimes they not even have money to go to put gas on their cars to go and help. It's different ways to spend the money. It's different ways to help the kids. It's different ways to help the parents to help the kids. But we have to find a way. Like I said, I belong to Inland Congregation United for Change. We are working all the time. All the time. And for me, to know something new, yes, coming here, it's good for me because now I know. Now I got something to tell the parents outside. But me by myself is not enough. I'm not the help. I can help a little bit. We need more people involved on this. It's not just one organization who's coming asking for money. We need organizations where we can go ask them to help and tell them, you know what, we got this money to help. Because we're waiting for somebody to come and ask. Everybody can come and ask. Who's going to help? Because it's easy for me to go and ask for money if I ain't going to do anything. I'm helping the parents to help the kids. And that's what we need. We need people involved. So that way we can give the parents the information they need to know about these programs. And we need agencies who can come and help these other agencies who's working with the students. So we have to find a way. I know it's not easy. I know if it's easy, anybody can do it. But for me, coming here is not easy either because I'm very bad to talk. Time. I have to find a way. And that's my work. I do it for my son. And I'm here helping other parents and other students to doesn't pass to the problems my kid passed and the problems I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments tonight. Those are all the public comments this evening, Board.
Thank you. We'll move on to 7.1, report by San Bernardino Teachers Association. Thank you, Ms. Ashley.
Good evening, Superintendent Marsden, President Hill, Vice President Medina, members of the board, cabinet.
Good evening.
I'm Ashley Vitas-Alcala, President of the San Bernardino Teachers Association. And tonight I just have a couple items that I wanted to discuss with you. First off, I just want to give you an update on where we're at with North Park as we embark on the beginning of another school year. We do have facilities has been working around the clock to get things back in order for the staff to report back starting Thursday. And the building looks amazing. I was there several weeks ago, and I hope to visit in the next couple of days, and I know you'll be visiting as well. They've done an amazing job. putting up walls and doors, and we're also looking at having counseling and other supports in place for staff as we start the new year to make sure that everybody's ready and have what they need to continue moving forward.
Great.
And I want to thank the district for their continued inclusion in us on collaboration and meetings over the summer, even as things were kind of closed down, to make sure that we're keeping up with the staff and what their needs are. In relation to that, one of the things that some of you, if you've done your own personal research, know is that trauma affects us in many different ways. And it comes in many different forms. It could be a divorce. It could be a severe weather event. It could be a school shooting. There's many different layers of it, and we know as humans, we go through our lives and we don't usually reflect on how many specific, as they call them, adverse childhood experiences that we've had. And we know that our students are suffering in this district with many of those experiences. And as we come as educators to the classroom, we don't always have all the tools in our toolkit to meet their needs based on the behaviors that we're seeing. And so I just want to echo, continuing on the presentation that was given earlier, is that we really need to focus on the continued training of our staff in trauma-informed, sensitive schools, and how to recognize behaviors that are coming from students. Because as I know from a school that was very successful in implementing PBIS, we have to have buy-in from stakeholders. We have to have established committees that meet regularly and look at data and talk about trends and analyze many of the numbers that you've been going over very meticulously in your comments this evening, to make sure that as we're making mind shift towards the best possible situation for our students to improve the school climate and their behavior and have them be successful, that we're just mindful of all of the players in those situations. So we look forward to continued collaboration on our improvement of our PBIS, restorative justice, and youth court programs in the district. And we just want to make sure that everything gets implemented in ways that we know are successful. And if we have to go slow, we go slow to make sure that we have the best outcome for our students. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Ashley, I wanted to find out from your perspective, do we currently have that type of training throughout the school district? Because you're right, if we're going to be looking at the behaviors in the classroom and we're not actually educating our teachers on how to effectively manage that, then we can't blame the teachers as well. And so how are we currently doing that right now for our educators?
My understanding is it started through the STARS grant that we had and some of the other pieces that were shared with you earlier. And so those 26 schools that were highlighted in the previous presentation were the beginning of that focus. And they did focus on areas in the district of highest need that have high crime rates, and they were very meticulous in looking at that when they applied those funds and those extra staff to go out to those sites and start working on that. So we have some small steps towards implementing that, but we're not anywhere near district-wide yet. So.
Okay. And you're part of that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
7.2, report by California School Employees Association. 7.3, report by Communications Workers of America. Thank you so much.
Hey, good evening, Board and Cabinet. I'm here on behalf of Ron Fletcher. My name is Rochelle Capozio, and I'm Chief Steward at Communication Workers of America. Ron and his wife are currently on their way to Philadelphia, where they're going to enjoy about 3 days, taking a walking tour to see a lot of the places where our country began, and then they're going to go to Pittsburgh for a union meeting for the whole week. Okay, so he asked me to take notes and try to hold the fort down. First, he wants to thank you for all the numerous training opportunities that we were allowed to be a part of. It really helped us to understand how the different factions of the school district work together. in moving forward, especially on our behavior issues. We've completed the first of 4 onboarding sessions for substitute teachers. We have 1,170, I think, now, and a third of those were trained July 18th and 19th. And it was very heavy training on PBIS and restorative justice and appropriate classroom management. We were there for 16 hours, 2 days, and it was wonderful training. I'm a strong believer in PBIS and positive behavior management, and I'm always astounded when I go into a classroom and I start using the PBIS language and the kids don't respond because they haven't heard it. It's on every wall, and they should know what it is, but they don't. But the ones that do, we have a great day. We get a lot done. Okay. Let's see, what else? Okay, that's enough for that page. So I have over here. Okay, one of the things that we were concerned about was Ron read the agenda for this meeting, and 8.23 is an agreement with Child Care Careers in Brisbane, California, to provide substitute teachers for All-Red Child Development Program. And so we spent the day trying to get information on this because we represent the substitute teachers that go to the child care programs. And we first thought this is like a conflict of interest, and then it got to be an even deeper problem because we found out that they employ something called permit teachers, and that's required for state preschools. And it says here that Early Education and Support Division, LIC 101152G or Q. Okay, 1 states the following: qualified teacher substitute means a person at least 18 years of age with at least 6 post-secondary semester or equivalent quarter units in early childhood education or child development. And I was very concerned about that, especially because of my strong belief in PBIS. And those babies are our most fragile. And in this community, sometimes they have already been traumatized. And we need to really ensure that the people that are taking care of them every day, usually for long hours because their parents work, are providing a safe, positive environment for them, that every interaction they have with the staff is positive. And that's not the case now, and now I understand why, because all you need is these few little classes and be over 18. So if we have money to spend, I think we should invest some of it in this early childhood education area so that by the time the kids get to kindergarten and start their, real academic elementary career, that they're already used to be being treated nicely, positively, being welcomed and treated warmly by the people in their environment. Then maybe they won't develop into the kids that are having suspensions, and then we have to intervene at that level. I think we should go backwards and ensure that we just bring them along all the way. Okay, Ron will probably kill me for that.
No, that's a good one. That's
Thank
a good
you.
one. Thank you.
But we thank you, and even though Dr. Marsden was out, I know Dr. Volkemer heard you, and we'll have him to bring him up to date and get back in touch with you on the permits. Dr. Flores?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify from you. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you have a big problem with their certification of just 6 units, right, in order to be a sub?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So
Okay.
young and not really a BA or not even an AA.
Okay.
And, just being 18 years old and...
And this is for our preschoolers?
Preschoolers,
Yes,
yes. There's a continuum of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different levels that these folks can be permitted to be substitutes with children, and there's various amounts of education, but I'm not sure any of it is PBIS focused.
So did you find out in your research, do they operate out of here, out of San Bernardino?
It seems to be a combination of San Bernardino City, and then some of the programs are funded with state money, and they're operated by the county, as I understand it. So
they're authorized by the county?
All right, so there's a lot of different levels of it, and there's a lot of confusion there.
So your concern is with the early entry?
Right, my concern is that they have the training necessary to treat the children warmly and positively, and those little toddlers can be brutal with one another, so I think it's needed.
My question, Dr. Marsden, is for Dr. Wiseman. Do we monitor how substitutes are selected for preschool?
I don't believe they're centrally hired, so that would go through the program. Latasha Kelly, the coordinator. So I'll need to look into that piece.
Mm-hmm. I would like for you to do that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
bringing that to our attention.
Okay, the reason that he wanted me to bring it up is because the board is supposed to approve the agreement with the child care careers in Brisbane tonight, and he thought it would need more consideration.
What item is that?
Yeah, 8.23.
Good, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Mr. Tillman?
I'm just getting I'm getting a head start on the board comments.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll look into that for you. 7.4, report by San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. 7.5. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't look in your direction. I just looked to the back. But okay, all right, thank you. 7.5, report by San Bernardino School Managers. 7.6, comments by board members, and we'll start with Mr. Mr. Tillman.
When she has a
Senior,
hard time
he's been on the board 20-plus years.
When she looked
22
down,
years, so I'll say that before he gets a chance to say it. He's been on the board 22 years. So.
Gwen told me I can't say that
22
anymore.
long, painful years.
She's tired of hearing that.
Well, we are, but we still hear it every board meeting.
No, I don't say it. You guys say it.
He's going on for 26.
But I will say this. I've been on the board for 20.
So, Dr. Hill, how much did he pay you?
3 minutes, 30 seconds. No, here's something I'd like to consider. And I think it would help the district in terms of recruitment and stuff like that. But to have staff come back and maybe Dr. Wiseman look at maybe for the staff that work in maybe the district office and PDC, allow them to have 980s where they work 9-hour days and every other Friday or every other Monday they have off, as long as they have coverage. Employees like to get it, and they can spend time with their family, and as long as you have coverage, you know what I mean? But just something to consider and bring it back to the board and see if you think it's doable. And go ahead.
I know we were exploring, and we weren't able to get it off the ground in time, but during the summer months especially, doing like the 412s and that kind of scenario. So we'll absolutely
410s.
look. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And I will say, because I've done both, 980s and 410s, so I would just go gradual. It's harder to have coverage with 410s because you're only working 4 days a week. And so it requires more staff doing that same position to have the coverage, because our whole goal is to service the students and the parents. So you got to have the coverage. So with 980 it's a little easier, but you might want to start with 980. And I do caution you, once you give it to the employees, you can't take it back. It's just something that they really get used to and enjoy. So I think it also can be used as a recruitment tool, because a lot of the county's departments have 980s. So when you're getting folks to come over, a lot of them won't come just because they're going to lose that day off every other week. So just be good to hear back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gello.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hill. I did get a chance to ride my bike this weekend and rode by North Park Elementary with my cast on. Actually, somebody came up to me and came in the parking lot and asked what I was doing there, you know. So I think the neighborhood has actually adopted that school. And any trespassers that look as suspicious as I do, you know, in a bike, bike outfit. And
in a Superman uniform.
Yeah,
Were you wearing
exactly
your outfit?
right.
It's probably that's what happened.
I did, but I got to tell you.
Was it orange?
All right,
Were you
enough
wearing
of
an
that.
orange?
Enough. It was actually blue this time.
I've seen your outfit.
You saw my red
Red, white, and blue, like Captain America.
But
we have to do this because he does it to us.
You can't reclaim your time.
But I
the
gotta
clock's
tell you,
running, Mr. Gello.
I got to tell you, the school looked fabulous, and they painted the entire outside and the front of the school, and it's got some kind of, you know, graphics on it and everything. It really looks fabulous. So if you're able to join, I can't believe they're doing a 7:30 in the morning, Thursday morning visit. And I'm going to have to wake up. Well, I'm not going to go to sleep that night. But I want to see the inside, too, and I understand it is just fabulous. And one of the contractors, or the contractor that did it, actually went to North Park and did it at cost, which was, you know, fabulous. You know, so we have local vendors taking care of our schools, and they really did a fabulous job. You're going to be pretty impressed with that. Now, we also had, I think, one of the more successful activities this summer in a special education student internship program that was pulled off by special education, and, you know, 4 of our teachers, Barbara, Manny, Nolly, and Mary, for a 2-week period, had 6 special education interns experience various things throughout the district, helping from feeding students at Jones Elementary to going to the print shop and doing a number of, they had construction tool, safety training, and all. It was really, really neat. They all got their food handler's license, and to prep them for some of the jobs that they might actually be able to get gainful employment in our own district, and let alone as we start expanding this for internships at local businesses, local industries. Many of you have probably heard of Walgreens and CVS. Well, Walgreens, and I met the CEO of Walgreens 2 years ago, and they actually do all of their logistics and warehousing operations worldwide are all staffed with special education population, the entire, from supervisorial staff on up. It is really, there are job opportunities that we can see our students actually, you know, be, and with high expectations and be gainfully employed. And, you know that the statistic is once a special education student leaves our care in, you know, the time that I think we can keep them till like 22 or something like that, 90% of them are unemployed, you know, for the remainder of their life. And that's tragic. I think we can figure out how to create employment opportunities for our special education population, and that's kind of near and dear to my heart as well, is to see our special education population, along with every student, have a choice to go to college, choices to earn and learn, or choices to go to work. And if we provide that to all of our students, I think we've done the right thing. So congratulations to the special education staff for pulling that off. Thank you, Dr. Marsden, for, you know, really, really doing something. I mean, we pulled this off in like 3 weeks notice, and it was great. So thank you once again.
Thank you. That was good.
Thank you, Ms. Medina.
For me, I just want to make sure that Dr. Marsden, I know I've mentioned this before with regards doing a resolution about the voting piece, the Secretary of State, with our youth, and especially in high school. If we could draft already the resolution, there's a format already ready by the Secretary of State. And if we could use that, I remember how I gave that maybe several months ago. We can try to do that and get the students involved, especially for the election cycle. That way they can feel like they're part of the engagement process and being educated on that piece. So, and I'll send you some contact information for those that are really interested in helping support that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. Medina, is that a resolution to support early registration
Early
for
registration.
18-year-olds?
There's six, you can
16 to 18-year-olds?
You can pre-register at
Okay.
16, but it's also a way to help educate and have
About their
other groups. We
citizenship.
can incorporate
Okay.
nonprofit organizations to help get them involved
Okay,
and
that's
so
great.
forth. Yes,
That's great.
please. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rogers?
And I think that's on the website now. They updated it on there, Abigail, too, as we were talking about it before. So at least it's on the website now for them to access it, the students themselves. So that piece is done. So
Well,
thank you
yes.
to that, Linda. And I know I don't know if you're commenting more on what they did tonight, but I did.
But it's getting this youth educated on the whole process, because what happens is that there's a lot of misknowledge, a lot of children who grew up in immigrant families that never understood the process of even voting.
I think we
Even
just
they
need to
could be-
campaign it
So-
and let them
yes.
know that it's there, because they put it there. Once again, we kind of have a tendency to update a lot of the information, but then we need to get the word out and let
We need to
people
get
know
the
where
word
to
out
get
and
it. Same thing with the
educate
expungements. I seen that was on there.
Exactly.
So we appreciate that. It's all there. So now we need to drive people there.
The drive, exactly.
One thing I wanted to comment, I wanted to thank Abigail as well as Dr. Menares. She left us, for coming to the walk. It was great. And all of the sponsors and the individuals that were involved in the human trafficking walk that we had, they were very appreciative to what our school district did. Our police officers were there, just kept everything very safe, very peaceful, and it was a great event. So we appreciate the support, and they're going to continue to be partnering with Option House and doing work around that particular piece. And it has been. I have to actually drive that street every day, in and out, and so things have looked peaceful. I mean, it is not as bad as it has been. I don't know if they're just kind of afraid, or maybe attention was brought to them, but that was a good thing, so we appreciate that. And also, I just want to remind the district again, I had a conversation with the PAL Center, and the PAL Center is still reaching out to us. I don't know if Dr. Volkemer or Menares, or who's kind of handling that now, but I know we've kind of made the appeal for those students that we know we need to link after graduation. PAL Center as well as Job Corps, just definitely looking to support those students to the next level any way that they can, because there are a lot of them that do especially graduate during the summer months, but then they're kind of disconnected or behind. And so if we can foster that relationship, I think it would be great. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Flores?
Yes, I have 4 items. Anticipating our September 5th workshop for budgeting and what we're going to do with the extra money, I would like us to consider agendizing the youth court increase in resources and support based on, our requests that we ask them to submit, what they specifically need to scale up. I also would like us to please hire a VAPA district director. I don't know if it's a director or the coordinator. Last year, we went out without a VAPA director, and I think that's, not acceptable. We need to hire someone, and also consider increasing the funds for our VAPA.
Well, you say what VAPA stands for?
What does it stand for? Visual arts. Visual and performing arts. And thank you, Mr. Tillman. And also, in anticipating our September 5th meeting, we've had parents come and our youth come to request, funding mariachi and ballet folklorico dance groups at a couple of the high schools. I think we need to consider that for, our kids. And then lastly, I just wanted to invite the rest of the board members to our California Latino School Boards Association that's taking place in Del Mar, October 5th through 8th. And the theme is Building Bridges for All Students, Public Education as a Civil Right. It's a unity conference. It's a unity conference of all of us. school board members. We're going to have about 400 to 500 participants. Dr. Patricia Gandara from the Civil Rights Project at UCLA will open it up. Dr. Daniel Walker and Hardy Brown will be the keynote speakers on Saturday. We've invited, I see Dr. Clay in the audience. By the way, your proposal and Dr. Luke's proposal is accepted, your research that you guys conducted. Ed Trust West will be there. Dr. Ramona Bishop will be there. She's the president of CASA. And so, you know, we have gubernatorial candidates, three Democrats and 2 Republican who are going to come and give their education platform and submit it. And Tony Thurman and I forget Mr. Tuck on Saturday will be giving their education platform. So it's going to be kind of exciting in terms of that. And we're going to have the Puente kids there. Last year, our Puente kids got to go. So that was really great. And that at lunchtime, we're going to have a civil rights panel present. One attorney on immigrant rights, the other attorney will be reporting on the Mexican-American Studies Ninth Circuit Court trial. And then we're going to have Victor Grego, who will be talking about water as a human right and civil right, and the water issues that schools face. So it should be exciting. I think it'll be great. Anyway, and I'm happy to invite you all. I happen to be the president of the California Latino School Boards Association. So no, you don't get a discount. Well, you get a discount until August 18th for the early bird. So it would be great if you guys could come. Thank you.
What is the date?
October 5th through October 8th. And by the way, if all school board members come and the superintendent, you all will get a plaque that says, you know, yeah. And Palmdale has won it. I mean, anybody who has it, but Palmdale says, we're all coming this year. And are we still going to get the plaque because we've gotten it 2 years in a row? Yeah, whoever, you know, brings all board members and superintendent will get the recognition. And, you know, have a big fanfare and all that. So anyway.
Good, thank you.
And I'd like to recognize Abigail, because Abigail helped us with our website. And you all don't know, but she's really a master at websites.
Oh, didn't know that. Good, thank you. Okay. Dr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Madam President. We'll see Danielle. Have a good evening. First of all, before our next board meeting, I think we're going to have an important day next week, and I want to welcome back all of our staff and our students as we're going to be starting a brand new school year. I know I'm really excited about it. You know, I wanted to say to our staff that you made hope happen for my daughter. You know, she's the first person in my family to get to go away to college. So when you talk about making hope happen, that was a dream come true for us as parents, and I get a little emotional about it. Definitely a dream come true for her. And, you know, now my next child, my son, is entering high school. So, you know, I just want to applaud everybody for the phenomenal job that they do day in and day out. And I could talk more and more about that. She's going to ASU.
Oh, right.
She's going to be studying biochemistry. So really excited about that. Yeah, far but close enough. Yeah, I'm glad she's leaving though. It's good experience for her. No, we love her to death, but she's ready for the big step. Yeah, I want to echo what Dr. Flores said too in regards to VAPA. You know, I know we've talked up here quite a bit. We've talked up here quite a bit about getting our money to our schools and ensuring that our programs excel. We have some phenomenal visual and performing arts programs out there. You know, I haven't had a chance to see the new Cajon Theater. I'm looking forward to seeing that. We know we're putting up that theater over at Indian Springs, which is going to be amazing. So it's really nice to see those funds reach the schools and get to where they need to be with our students. I also want to compliment the city. It's interesting, sometimes me and Gwen, we're often actually on the same wavelength, and I didn't get to go to the walk, and I'm glad to see that, Ms. Rogers was there, because that was really important when we talk about human trafficking in our city and our community. I know there's a number of us, that are up here that, want to fight that battle and fight that, that crime that's happening in our city, not just here, but throughout our county. And I must say, I got to compliment when it's due, and I want to thank our school police and San Mateo City Police for really, really cleaning up 6th Street between G and H. I drive that route probably about 2 to 4 times a day throughout the week, and I have seen a visible difference, and especially right behind Jones Elementary. I've said it up here many times that it is a major concern to me. I know Ms. Medina as well. We've talked about safe routes to schools, a number of us up here, and it's starting to be visible. So thank you to those of you that are making that happen. And I also want to say a thank you to the city. And I drive a different route sometimes home, depending on if the gate's locked or not. And I got to go up East Street, and I see the new park there, the Officer Bryce E. Haynes Park. And let me tell you, every time I've gone by there, it's been full of kids and families having a great time. And I know I've been critical up here a few times about the city not having anywhere for our kids to go. And so it's really nice to see a park in our city, right in the inner city too, let me tell you. It's right in the middle of town, where it's full. So I know that if we build these facilities, or these recreational facilities for our kids to go to, they will go. So my compliments to the city for getting that done. I read about it a little bit, and that grant was in 2011. So it barely just opened. So it takes a long time to plan these things, to plan areas for our children to go to. And I can assure you, if we have more places like that for our children, they will be getting in less and less trouble. So again, my kudos to the city. I'd just like to see that go to a greater scale like we talk about with our school programs. But I wanted to give my shout out and a thank you to them for doing that. And again, to our staff, welcome back. I know this board is here to support you and to get the mission done and to make hope and happen for our kids, our city, and our community. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a few remarks. One Saturday, had an opportunity to attend the 40th anniversary Ghana Holt. And as you know, Ghana is doing a lot of work with Bing Wong School. Phenomenal place. Dr. Morrison and his wife was there. I know Gwen and I don't know if anyone else had it on the schedule or not, but if you ever get an opportunity, please visit that place. It's phenomenal. And I tell you, you would have thought Gwen was trying to make a basket, a 3-foot basket. She jumped so high when for one of the she was frightened by something that she thought was what was it? She didn't know it was real. She said it looks real, and it jumped out at her. And when she realized, she had a little jump there. But it was just absolutely wonderful what he has done, and right here in San Bernardino. And we don't even talk about his business and the jobs and things of that nature. So again, Pacific High School graduate. He was doing all these wonderful things in our city, and just want to say to Ghana, thank you for all that you're doing. Had an opportunity to hear Dr. Smith from San Bernardino Valley College talk about the diesel program, and Mr. Gallo, you may know, I don't know if the rest of us know, but out of the program, 2 students got jobs already. Yeah, 2 students in that program already have gotten jobs, so we were proud to hear that. I was missing in action 2 weeks ago, but I was in Little Rock, Arkansas at a conference, and everything is so expensive, but I did invest a couple of bucks in each of you so that you would have a bookmark of Central High School. This is the high school for Little Rock 9. What you see in that photo is how the school looks now, but also understand how it looked in 1957. In 1957, I saw a newspaper article where it was voted the best-looking high school in the United States. So enjoy your bookmark. And I even took a photo because I had an opportunity to meet Terrence Roberts, who was one of the Little Rock Nine, and but I won't be able to use it. I didn't look as well as I wanted to in the photo, so I'm not sending it out. One of the Little Rock Nine, Eckert, did speak, and the sister of one of the young men was there. Had a chance to attend the management conference in La Quinta, and also yesterday at the Orange Show. And I tell you, the information Dr. Marsden gave out was just a class act of information. And Dr. Marsden, I'm saying to you in the presence of my other 6 board members, we're going to hold you accountable, because what you gave was some good information to the staff, to cabinet, and everybody else. So we're going to hold you to that, because if you do, everything this year is going to be absolutely wonderful. On my way home from La Quinta, there was a billboard, and perhaps some of you saw it, and it pertained to attendance, and it talked about high school attendance, and it was a very brief, short message. I forgot what the message. Do you remember, Gwen, anybody who saw it? But at any rate, it's a billboard, but it's enough that even if you're doing 70 miles an hour, you can still read it and not run into the back of an 18-wheeler. But the message is powerful about students attending school. And this morning had an opportunity to meet with the Assistance League, and Ginger was there, and I'm sure she'll share more later. There's an anticipated grant, but some work they want to do with our 3rd graders, and it sounds exciting. Today I met with the San Bernardino Police Foundation, and they gave praise to the students at the camp. They said it was great, and also their leadership class. They didn't get as many young people as they wanted, but they did have 19. They anticipated 35, but they were so pleased with what happened with the young people in our district, they plan to do it again next year. Other than that, I do want to make an announcement. It has not hit the newspapers yet, but this is a first for me, I think, in 6 years. I've gone over my time, so I don't even feel guilty.
No, it's not.
Well, second time, Mr. Tillman. But I just want to announce that our own Gwen Rogers has been selected to receive the Humanitarian of the Year Award from the San Bernardino Black Culture Foundation. So congratulations, Ms. Rogers. And other than that, I just want to say to our community, our partners, our collaborators, our parents, our students, our staff members, cabinet, superintendent, and everyone else, let's have a good school year for 2017-18. So with that, I just want to thank you, and thank you for all the support I have received, especially during the past year, because I don't know, tomorrow I celebrate, the home going of my special friend. And it's hard to believe it's been a year, but thanks to all of you for all of your support and just being there and giving me the hugs I need when I need them. So thank you so much.
That's your quote right there. That was on the sign.
Okay, 2 absences per week equals less likely to graduate, and that was it. Very powerful, very, very powerful information. So even though we can't do it on the school buses, and of course I was jealous when I saw one San Bernardino Valley College on the Omnitrans bus, and Dr. Gibbs gone already, so I can't talk to him about that. But I hope we can get signs out there.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
so
Hill.
much.
And I agree with you. This is going to be our best year yet. Looking forward to it. We had a great kickoff of our employee gathering for excellence. Yesterday, we held our 6th annual gathering. Approximately 700 staff came, teachers, principals, custodians, office staff, cafeteria workers. In addition to hearing about our district's accomplishments, we had 5 students from the Superintendent Student Advisory Council who also shared their personal stories and message about how staff have impacted their own experience, including Isabel. She gave her comments and testimony at that event as well. So thanks to her. And thanks to Linda Bardier and her communications team. They have, as you know, we celebrated earlier this evening the new website app that's coming and the suite of communications tools that we will have a much more seamless way to communicate, an efficient way to communicate with all of our stakeholders. So we're very much looking forward to that program getting into the hands of all of our communities. So thank you, Ms. Bardier, for your leadership there. Also want to mention today we had over 1,200 staff at the Ontario Convention Center listening to Dr. Ron Powell on topics that I know are near and dear to your heart around trauma-informed care and instruction, how to pay attention to the needs of our children, understanding what trauma does and how it affects the brain and learning. And I'm sorry if you didn't personally get a chance to hear from Ron Powell, but I will encourage you later, at some later date, maybe to watch a video. We'll be putting some videos together, different lengths that you can take advantage of that. I'm hopeful we can get the word out to every one of our community members about this, this information. It's critical. As was mentioned earlier, on Thursday, August 3rd at 7:30 in the morning, maintenance operations staff will conduct a tour of the improvements at North Park and Cajon for board members. So this would be a select tour for you, board. And if you'd like to participate, please let Karen or Carla know. Just a note that we do have a confirmation from Dr. Hill, Ms. Medina, Mr. Gallo, and Ms. Rogers. So thank you for your confirmation. The others, if you intend to attend, please let us know. And then, board, one thing I'd like your feedback on, we are looking at bringing back together our community cabinet. If you recall in the past, we had a community budget advisory coalition. We've married that in a couple of different names of getting community feedback on a quarterly basis. We want to involve stakeholders in discussions around various initiatives and decision making. So as we bring things to you as a board, they have the fingerprint of our community on it. And so it's our intention to ensure there's a strong stakeholder representation. I'd like to ask you to take some time to consider individuals you think would be best to serve as a community cabinet member. And so beginning tomorrow, you'll get a reminder from Carla or Karen, and I'd ask you to reply to that with some top names of people that we should really consider including in that community cabinet to give input so that the pulse of the community is reflected in those conversations. And then again, with your permission, we would like to hold a budget workshop on September 5th. We would like to request that that meeting starts at 4:30 to allow the board ample opportunity to review staff recommendations for the use of carryover and provide input on prioritizing available funding for programs and services. Is that agreeable to you, board, to start that meeting at 4:30 as we've done from time to time in the past? We can start it at 4 if that would work for the board. Would that work for you to start it at 4, board?
The closer to 5:30, the better for me. At least after 5, it would help me.
Would 4:30 work?
Yeah, but I don't want to go earlier than that. The closer to 5 o'clock, the better for me.
Okay, so 4:30 with your permission, board? Okay, sure. Then we will do that.
Dr. Marston, when you're going to involve the community, I know you guys are working on project management. Will you be presenting where you're at and in terms of what projects you will be? The goal is to, as we orient you, we want to orient our community to what's going on in the district, getting their input to those things, important topics that come up. That'd be one of them, be a number of topics that would be important. Well, I would think that you present where we're at in terms of implementing certain projects.
Absolutely.
And it would be great to integrate that into action, you know, in terms so that our community sees it and we see it as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And then finally, just the final check of $37,750 came in from the California Emerging Technology Fund to assist with the implementation of the school-to-home in 5 middle schools, and this completes the $115,000 grant commitment for the 16-17 fiscal year for technology integration of teaching and learning and to improve student academic performance at Arrowview, Curtis, Del Vallejo, Golden Valley, and Serrano Middle Schools. So thank you to Sonny McPeak and the California Emerging Technology Fund for their continued support of the district as we continue to close the digital divide and the achievement gap for our students. And I'm looking forward to our beginning of school here shortly. And Board, thank you for your leadership, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Session 8, 8.0, the consent calendar.
So moved.
All right. It's been moved and properly seconded. Let's vote, please.
We have some items that might need to be pulled, Dr. Hill. I know that staff would like to pull item 8.17 for some changes we need to consider.
So 8.17 we'll pull. Ms. Medina?
8.26 and 8.33.
8.26 and 8.33. Ms. Medina? Anything else?
And 8.14, I need to abstain, and I'll leave the room while you vote.
8.14.
The ones I have to
And just so
abstain
you
as
know,
well.
it's on Technical Employment Training, Inc., and as you know, I'm the CEO and founder of that organization.
So 8.14, you need to abstain.
Yes, and
We'll
I'll leave the room.
8.17. And Ms. Medina, you're
I
8.
will have to abstain as well.
On both of those?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to also pull 8.23.
8.23. And that's not for abstention, it's just
For discussion.
For discussion.
For discussion.
All right.
Yeah, for discussion.
Okay. Board, any others?
Well, I don't know if it's for discussion. I would like you to find out more information
We'll speak to it when you bring it up.
when we bring it up.
Okay. So with the exception of 8.14, 8.17, 8.23, 8.26, 8.33. Motion? 8.14.
There's been a motion, a second, calling for the vote, right?
Okay,
Let's
yes.
vote.
I just want to make sure that we had everything down, that everybody wanted down. So with that, let's please vote. Thank you. Motion carried. 8.14, we need to ask Mr. Gallo to vacate the room. Stand near the door. It probably will only take a minute. 8.14, ratification of the renewal agreement with Technology Employment Training, TET Incorporated, San Bernardino, to provide advanced manufacturing STEM pathway at district school sites.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. In the discussion, all in favor indicate by voting now. Thank you. So if someone could get Mr. Gallo. 8.17 we pulled, so that will not be discussed.
No, Dr. Hill, I would like staff to discuss it, actually. 8.17, we have a modification that we need to make to that item.
8.17?
8.17, correct. So Dr. Wiseman has some comments.
Okay.
So, Board, this item is in relation to North Park. As you know, we've had several internal as well as external resources and community partners helping us out. So this one, there was a mistake. We received 2 proposals. One was for the summertime and what we were going to do with some of the students in regards to services and families. And then another proposal was actually for the start of the new school year. So the recommended change to this is, if you read, it says on the second line to provide additional or individual mental health counseling to students. I'm requesting a comma, parent training, comma, and information and training to teacher, staff, administration. So I wanted to add the parent training component to this. Also, the recommendation is to increase the amount not to exceed from $17,000 to $67,000, and the rest will be the same.
Dr. Hill?
Yes, Mr. Tillman. Thank you, Dr. Perry Wiseman.
I'm very happy to see that we have this resource agendized. I actually worked with a lady who's a grandparent of a student that was at North Park, and just last week she told me that her grandson, for the first time, talked about the incident to his parents, because they were told by counselors not to bring it up themselves, but as he brought it up to discuss it, and she was saying how happy that she was that he had counseling at the school and that it's still available. And I know we said parents, but I hope that is a limit. I don't know, you might want to change that word, because it should be parents or grandparents or guardians.
Parents and guardians.
Whoever is responsible for that student,
Okay.
because a lot of them are involved. But I just want to say it's good to hear that we have those resources available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any further discussion? If not, let's vote. Okay, thank you so much.
And I will be abstaining.
8.23.
Okay. And the 8
Flores.
That was me, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would like to pull it so that we get more information, Dr. Wiseman, before.
I might, just as a point of suggestion,
Yeah.
Dr. Flores, so that we don't hinder the advancement of this work, if the issue is ensuring effective training of the substitutes who take those roles, is that the main issue?
Yes, that
Yeah.
was what was
So
brought
I
up,
think
yeah.
through Dr. Wiseman's office, we certainly can ensure adequate training, and we will work with Ron to ensure that that training is adequate for those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you provide that, I think, I don't think that an 18-year-old that has two courses should be substituting.
No, and we did this even at North Park. So
You
at
did?
North Park, we needed a very specific substitute teacher, and Dr. Wiseman led a very robust process to
Okay.
ensure we had the right people there, and so we'll take that kind of, I think.
So what would we add to this?
Yeah, I think you just have that assurance from us that we'll do that.
Put in that Dr. Wiseman will assure that are qualified and they're not just,
It can be reflected in the minutes, Dr. Flores.
okay. All right. Okay, so moved.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We are looking at 8.23, so let's vote. Thank you.
8.26, I will leave. the room.
8.26 and 8.33, so
Yes.
you will be out for both. Okay,
And Ms. Medina is recusing herself because she is on the board of the Boys and Girls Club, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
okay, so 8.26 is the ratification and agreement with the Boys and Girls Club, and this is for the summer day camp program.
So moved on both items?
Yeah.
Both items, right?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second on 8.26 and 8.33.
And 8 point,
So are we voting on both?
Correct.
Okay.
You have a motion on the floor for both items, 8.26 and 8.33.
okay.
Dr. Hill,
Any discussion, anybody?
did she vote?
Okay, if not, let's vote.
Oh, okay. We voted.
Thank you. If someone could get Ms. Medina back in.
Yeah, somebody tell Abigail to stay in the room.
We'll move on to action item.
I heard Scott.
9.0, action item. 9.1, personnel report. Dr. Wiseman.
As presented, Dr. Hill.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was ahead of myself this time. Let's vote. Let's vote on 9.1, personnel report. Thank you. 9.2.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I will just read it since we got a complaint not too long ago. 9.2, 45-day revision after adoption of governor's budget fiscal year 2017-18. It's been moved and properly seconded. Let's vote. Thank you. We'll now go into closed session, and it looks like we will report out.
That is correct.
We will report out, and just want to say for those of you in the audience, you're welcome to sit here, and there's some snacks in the back as well as some cold tea and water. We will be out shortly. Thank you, and at this time, I close the regular meeting. This is a report out from closed session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following employees. Thomas Russell, Coordinator, Psychological Services, effective date, work year and salary to be determined. This is from funding 035.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. Let's vote. Thank you.
Move to adjourn?
No, not yet.
One more?
We'll save that, table that. Table that.
Mr. Tim, I understand 2 weeks ago you were extremely quiet. So were you waiting for me to come back?
Wow.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to dismiss classified employee from his employment with the district and to authorize the superintendent or designee to provide notice of the board's action to the Personnel Commission Director. HR Class 161730. I need an...
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Let's vote. And the last one, be it resolved that pursuant to Education Code 44836, Employee 16 CR-051750 is hereby terminated from employment as a certificated employee with the district, effective August 1, 2017. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's moved and properly seconded. Let's vote.
Move to adjourn?
It's been a motion to move and to adjourn, and we want to say to the staff, thank you, and let's have a good school year.